This program is a collaboration of personal opinions and individual free thought. It does not represent the views or narrative of the mainstream corporate media hacks. Viewer discretion is advised.
Live from the bell tower, taking a stand for your rights, your liberties, and all the bullshit in between. You're listening to Break the Bell Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are here as much as we can be. I'm having some major technical difficulties tonight.
Hello, beautiful bell breakers. Would you expect anything less from us?
No, not really. I inherited a computer virus, I believe, and so I keep getting this little ding pop-up at the bottom of my screen. And so I was trying to clean it up before we got started on this, and I paid for some software to clean it up, and I thought it was all gone, and then as soon as we started, it dinged again at us. So we might be getting some incessant dinging throughout this episode.
As long as it doesn't break out in avid porn, we should be all right.
Yeah, well, I would actually prefer that because, I don't know. It's probably Russian or Ukrainian.
Probably. They know what's coming up tonight.
They do. Tonight we are talking not about Russian porn or Ukrainian. Well, maybe some.
It might be
maybe some
Russian
Ukrainian
porn.
porn. We are talking about. There it is. You hear the ding?
I did hear the ding.
We are talking about. We are revisiting the war, the Russian war, Ukraine war. What is this conflict called?
I would call it the Ukrainian conflict.
I did see.
Purdue.
Wikipedia has a thing called. Like a page called the Russo-Ukrainian War, and it's been like ongoing since 2014. So now Wikipedia says this has been just a constant war since 2014. So
interesting. I'm surprised that they admit that.
Shannon's here. Shannon says we are Beanie Bros tonight.
Yes, Shannon. We like to rock the beanies.
I actually prefer Beanie Babies because
I do too, but they don't fit on the head as well.
I just prefer being called a Beanie Babe because me and you are Beanie Babes together.
Yes, that's true.
Shannon, how are you tonight? I hope your night is going more smoothly than mine is. I have a lot of shit going on, and trying to get this podcast going at the same time, it makes things really difficult sometimes, and that's why we're late. This is like the first time we've been late.
Yeah, I think so too.
In a while, at least.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, just sit down and wait a second because we're going to be late. And you're like, whatever.
Yeah.
So, but we are here, and that is all that matters. So how's everybody doing out there? How's all our favorite listeners? We're live. That's all that freaking matters.
Absolutely.
We're here to talk about war. We're here to talk about Ukraine, Russia, money, scandals, probably.
Most
definitely.
Yeah. I mean, that's really what war boils down to anymore, isn't it? Just
Yeah,
the money.
the money laundering, money scandals in Ukraine. Well, don't worry. There's plenty of it for them to scandalize,
Right.
because we're sending them hundreds of billions of dollars. So we're going to talk about that. And I want to get into there's been some whispers about regime change in Russia, and so.
And I think you called that out about a year ago.
I did. I absolutely did. I'm like, I think this is about getting.
Yeah, that's right. Because we had a wow moment. You led me to the water, and then I was just like, whoa, you're right.
Shannon
Holy shit.
says 2 glasses of wine. I've started drinking for you. We
We
would expect no less from you,
absolutely.
Shannon. I'm actually surprised it's only 2. And she's standing in the kitchen. So
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, no better place to drink your wine than right there in the kitchen where you have easy access to more wine. So
Yes.
that works out. So I'm going to turn the volume down on this until we have music. Then it won't ding at me. I mean,
there you go.
smart, intelligent. I know. Thinking, processing. My brain is not 100%. And it is less than it usually is, not 100%. So we're going to get through this, though. But yeah, as you were saying, we did come to a conclusion probably a year ago. we were talking about the National Endowment for Democracy, and we're like, oh, they have a heavy presence in Ukraine. What's going on there? And blah, blah, blah. And then we're like, wait, no, they already got Ukraine.
Yeah.
They're not worried about regime change or anything. And they already have that. We already established that.
Right.
They're going after Russia. They want regime change in Russia. They want Putin gone because he's not on board with all this globalization bullshit.
I mean, they just got rid of the guy in Brazil. They're moving towards Russia. I mean, they're trying to get rid of all the anti-globalist leadership.
Absolutely.
And Putin's the big dog.
He is one of the bigger of the dogs at the moment. So we're going to talk about all that stuff. Just kind of revisiting this whole Russia-Ukraine conflict, because I mean, we talked quite a bit during the beginning phases of it, but we've kind of branched away from it a little bit.
You kind of have to, though.
Yeah, we got to revisit and reevaluate things. It's kind of like a relationship. Like, where are we in our relationship right now? Are things going good? Are things a little rocky? Like,
what are we?
Yeah.
Are we a war? Are we a conflict?
How can we make this a little bit smoother for all of us? Tired of one-handed date night. It's my latest pop-up. Tired of one-handed date night. Find someone kinky near you.
Wow.
Oh man. Now, I don't know if you've noticed. Have you seen speaking of Ukraine and one-handed date night pop-ups, have you seen, like, scrolling through different news ads, I will see very specific like dating profiles. You know how you see the like ads for it.
Yes.
But here lately, it's been very specifically you date Ukrainian women.
Yes.
What the fuck is going on over there?
I think they're trying to find sugar daddies.
I think there's probably some serious human trafficking going over there
sure.
that they're not willing to talk about. But we are definitely willing to talk about it because that's what we talk about. So we're gonna get right into this intro, and then we're going to come back and talk about not Ukrainian human trafficking, hopefully, but maybe. I don't know.
Maybe that might pop up.
We never know what we're going to get ourselves into. So we're going to get right into that, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about how this war is raging on and see where this freaking conversation goes and see if this is a relationship worth keeping.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
So we're going to get right into this, and then we'll be back to us to keep doing this. Yeah, we'll be right back.
What did you say?
You talking to me?
What the heck are you talking about?
What did you say?
What did you say? What did you say?
Are you talking to me?
Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me?
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
What are you saying?
What did you say?
Are you talking to me?
Well, maybe he was talking to me.
What'd you say?
Talk to me.
What in heaven's name are you talking about?
Talk to me, baby.
Did you just say?
What did you say?
You listen to me. Are you talking to me?
Are you talking to me?
What the hell are you talking about?
Who are you talking to?
Oh, we don't have any music. Nothing is working. Here, we'll take this one. I don't know what this is, but it's here.
Like the start of Airwolf?
I don't know what it is, but it's right there, so this is what we're going to take.
Okay.
I mean, it's only fitting. It's only fitting that nothing's working. My phone, which has the controllers to the music and sounds, it wouldn't connect to my computer. Nothing is working. So, might as well have this, like, sweet 80s vibe.
I agree.
It's almost like 80s action movie music.
Oh, definitely is.
Like Top Gun or something like that. I mean, what a better way to celebrate this war. Now, would you believe it's been 341 days since Putin invaded Ukraine?
Right.
341, not quite a full year.
I saw like one of our, I think it was like last week, saying, hey, where is this thing going to go? Is it really going to, it was our show from last year talking about, is this a real thing?
Now this is, sorry, I got distracted. This is the music we usually play here.
Yes, it is.
But
we don't usually listen to it from the beginning.
Yeah, I must start it in a different spot because all of a sudden I'm just like, wait, this is what we always have. So I don't know what's going on. Russia, war. What did you say?
That's a good.
What did you say?
Oh, because on my memories popped up our break the bell from last year at this time where we were talking about is it going to be a war?
And we're like, probably not.
Yeah, we're like,
Ukraine
no,
doesn't want a war, but
they don't got the balls for that.
Because remember, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Remember, Great Britain was like Boris. What's his name?
Yeah,
Boris Johnson was all like, "Oh yeah, Russia's definitely going to attack you," and Ukraine's like, "We thought they were like, stop provoking them.
Yeah. This
we
isn't
don't
gonna go
want
anywhere."
This.
You know.
Come to find out, I'm pretty sure Zelensky definitely wanted this.
Yeah.
He just didn't want to give up. He didn't want to spoil the moment right away.
He's on the grand stage right now. You know that wouldn't have happened if the war didn't go down.
I mean, what a better way to like advance your acting career,
right?
than what's going on.
It worked for Reagan.
Yes. I mean, whatever's going on right now is definitely a shit show, and he is at the front and center of it.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, it's been going on almost a year. It's impossible to get like exact numbers because both sides are pretty egotistical. It's like, no, we don't have that many.
Yeah.
That many. We don't have hundreds of thousands. They have hundreds of thousands.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even at one point, Zelensky came out and was like, well, Russia suffered 7 times as many losses as us. It's like 7 times. That's very specific.
Yeah.
Like, how are you? Are you just making shit up, or are you just throwing it out there? So now on one side, you've got it where like I said, Ukraine's like, oh, we suffered a couple thousand, and they've suffered like hundreds of thousands, and then Russia's like, no, I think they've suffered hundreds of thousands, and we've suffered 10 total.
Yeah, right.
So it's interesting because remember, Zelensky comes out and says they're being genocided.
Oh yeah, yep.
But then he'll turn around and be like, no, we haven't lost that many people. It's like,
then
are you being genocided or are you not losing
But remember
people?
we talked about how there was like a whole village that they like found this mass grave for, you know? So I guess they don't count them.
No, those don't count because they're just collateral damage, probably.
They're not combatants, so we don't count them.
Right, exactly. So now General Milley, our favorite General Milley, he came out, the New York Times had quoted him, came out and said that both sides, this was back I think in November, December, both sides had suffered at least 100,000 deaths. And again, I don't know where General Milley's getting these numbers, but it's just like, oh no, they both have suffered so many deaths.
It's almost like maybe he's thinking maybe they have someone on the ground, but that wouldn't be possible, would it?
No, there's no way we have boots on the ground in Ukraine.
No,
we're just hearing it from other. Yeah. We're just hearing it from.
Maybe they have like one of those turnstiles, you know, at the border that people walk through. And
we just walk and go back around like Buddy the Elf.
Right,
just run around.
Exactly.
We don't actually go in. We just like do a little roundabout thing. I don't know. Do you? Like, what do you believe? What's your gut tell you about the number of deaths? You think there's a high amount? Do you think there's not that many? Do you think this whole thing is just fucking made up and nobody's got killed? Because remember,
there's a part of me that thinks that.
Remember, we saw that video that was supposedly Russians like decimating this area, and it was so blatantly fake, and people running around like Oliver
dressed
Twist
like
clothes.
Peasants, and
it looked like, and then like just a random like potato sack of a person just blows up and flies through the air. It's just like, is any of this shit fucking real? Like, have you come to any conclusions?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's real. I know we're going to get into this, so I'm not going to question too much, but I don't think it's as bad as what, either side is trying to make it sound. For whatever reason, because I do think that Russia has the ability to end this if they wanted to.
Well, there's so many lies going on both sides. It's all propaganda to
remember
make.
Remember who was the jet fighter?
That was what I was getting to. The Ghost of Kiev.
Yeah.
The Ghost of Kiev
shot down like 30 planes.
It was 40 planes. It was the Ghost of Kiev, and then it came out that they released that this one guy here died in battle, and he had shot down about 40 planes. And so people started connecting the dots, and they're like, well, he must have been the Ghost of Kiev. Well, it turns out then Ukraine came out and admitted, not only is the Ghost of Kiev not real, but that guy never shot down 40 planes himself either. Yeah. So I think their final statement on it was like a superhero type myth type thing. It just
build morale.
Made by Ukrainians. And They said it portrayed the collective image of all the country's pilots. That's how they got away with it. It's just like, really, that's what you're going with.
He's like
with
the Santa Claus of Ukraine war.
Yes. So never happened.
Yeah.
Or you remember that? Oops, that's not what. All right, let's get out of there. Nothing's working tonight. Do you remember? The beauty pageant lady that hung up her sash and picked up her freaking firearms.
Yeah. It was like a pellet gun.
It turned out, it was an airsoft,
Yeah.
a model of an airsoft gun. It's just like, what is anything freaking real around here? Is any of this war even real?
The island, remember they
Yeah,
were like surrender and they were like, fuck you.
And they got blowed up.
But then it turned out they didn't.
Yeah. And they didn't say fuck you.
Yeah.
And none of that, nothing was real. Yeah. Just kind of a recap moment here.
Some of the greatest moments.
Yeah, it's like the greatest. In every good sitcom, they always have that episode that nobody actually wants to watch because it's just like
and they
recaps.
just recap it all.
Yeah, it's just like flashbacks.
Yeah.
It's like that time. It's just like especially
Jack is sick, and so they're talking about all the good times they had with him, so he doesn't die.
Yeah, in reality, watching those in real time, those would be fine to recap. But when you're binge watching a Netflix show, it's just like, I know I saw that 3.5 hours ago. I just watched it earlier this morning. Don't remind me of how much I am a piece of shit.
Yeah.
So that's what this episode starting out is. At least we're just living the best moments of the Ukraine war.
This is fond memories of the Ukraine war. Remember the the model, the Ukrainian model that turned out to be a Nazi? And
Which one?
Yeah, that's true. There's probably quite a few. But yeah, she was supposed to be like this. She was like their new poster child. And then they found out she was straight Nazi.
Yeah. So we haven't heard from her in a while.
Yeah, no. Yeah, she's not the poster child anymore.
We shouldn't talk about them. Maybe she denounced her Nazi-ship, just like the like the Super Troopers that are there that are former Nazis. But don't worry, they've all denounced their Nazi-ness.
Yeah.
So it's cool, guys, because they're fighting the Russians. That's fine. Do you know who else fought the Russians? Literal Nazis fought the Russians, the Soviet Union. So that doesn't make them the good guys.
Yes. Or when what was it? Sean Penn was going to give up his Oscar.
Oh, he's going to give up. No, he's going to smelt his Oscar.
Oh, that's right.
If Zelensky didn't show up,
that's right,
make an appearance in the Oscars or something, he was going to smelt his Oscar.
Yes.
Zelensky didn't make his appearance. He never smelted him. However, he did give Zelensky. Remember, he gave Zelensky.
Yes.
Was it the Oscar that he gave? Some award for best actor, probably in the world.
Probably, yes.
So,
because he is hitting it all.
Now, let's get into the money spent because there's been a couple dollars.
Kind of makes
spent
me
on
sick,
this war.
actually.
Yeah. Let's pull up some stats because last I had heard. So this was probably numbers in November, December.
Okay.
So it's probably a fuck ton more than that for now. Because as of, this says December 16th, it says the U.S. had sent $50 billion in 2022 to Ukraine. And this has charts. We get visual aids of this. So we can really see where your money is going. Because it says, this is from CFR.org. It says, every year the United States sends billions of dollars in aid and much more than any other country to beneficiaries around the world in pursuit of its security, economic, and humanitarian interests. I think it's more in pursuit of its own interests. That's what they should have just left it at in pursuit of its interests. It doesn't care about humanitarian because how much aid have we sent to Haiti and how great is the humanitarian situation there?
Yeah.
How about any of these other quote unquote Donald Trump shithole countries that we sent humanitarian aid to? How many of those actually are doing better since we sent the humanitarian aid?
Yes.
But how much have we benefited from those countries?
Oh, we've made bank. Well, we haven't, but
not us personally.
No.
So it says, heading into 2022, U.S. foreign assistance was driven by various priorities of the Biden administration, including combating climate change, responding to COVID, and countering authoritarianism. Those are all just great things to strive for.
Yes. makes our country great.
But since Russia's invasion in February, Ukraine has become far and away the top recipient of U.S. foreign aid. It's the first time that a European country has held the top spot since Harry S. Truman administration directed vast sums in rebuilding the continent through the Marshall Plan after World War II. In 2022, the administration and U.S. Congress have directed nearly $50 billion in assistance to Ukraine, which includes humanitarian, financial, and military support, according to Kiel Institute of World Economy, a German research institute. The historic sums are helping a broad set of Ukrainian people and institutions, including refugees, law enforcement, and independent radio broadcasters. Wow. They're making it sound like it's just such a great gesture that we're doing over there. Well, we're helping out the independent radio broadcasters, obviously, and refugees.
Right, because freedom.
Mostly military aid, it says. A caveat there. Yeah. But most of it has been military related. What is, like, how much do you think is going to the independent radio broadcasters of Ukraine?
No, like not much. I'm sure they say like maybe $2 billion, but it's actually probably $20.
Yeah, it's probably Zelensky's own personal.
It's his microphone.
Yeah,
it's his
probably.
recording stuff.
Dozens of other countries, including most of members of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, and the European Union, are also providing large aid packages to Ukraine. So here's the breakdown: how much they've sent and where it's gone. $9.9 billion of the $50 billion has gone to humanitarian aid, or emergency food assistance, healthcare, refugee support, and other humanitarian aid. $15 billion goes towards financial aid. So
like when Zelensky was begging for us to take care of his electrical bills and water bills and
basically,
stuff, that's what that was.
Or like his, and we'll get into this, his like staffers that like had multiple like fancy cars and shit.
Sure. Yes.
Where that money was going.
Yeah.
Yachts. Yeah. 8.9 goes to security assistance, training, equipment, weapons, logistics support. Now get this. Security assistance includes weapons and training and logistics support. Then there's another $12 billion to weapons and equipment. What's the difference between the weapons and equipment to security assistance and the weapons and equipment just specifically for weapons and equipment?
Because you can never have too much weapons and equipment for the normal person.
Right?
Oh,
this is for Ukraine's Security Assistance Initiative, and this is for the Defense Department stocks.
Oh, so the Defense Department gets a little bit more than security.
Yes.
It's so like police.
Security, yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Then $1.3 billion goes into grants and loans for weapons and equipment. So all three of those are weapons and equipment.
Does that pay for the tanks they were getting from Poland?
I don't think we've got there because, like I said, this is December 16th. So we haven't got to the tank push yet.
Oh, okay.
That came like a week ago.
So as of January 5th, the U.S. has approved $113 billion.
That was the next thing I had.
Okay, sorry.
It says Congress approves $113 billion in aid to Ukraine in 2022. So those actually, and after that article popped up, they approved another like $65 billion to add a total
just
of.
insane.
Yes. But I want to look at a couple more of these stats here because it says how Ukraine is tapping the U.S. arsenal.
Because they are tapping it.
Infantry arms and equipment, 8,500 Javelin anti-armor systems, 46,000 other anti-armor systems, 1,600 Stinger anti-aircraft, 1,500 tow missiles, 11,000 grenade launchers, 75,000 sets of body armor and helmets, thousands of night vision devices, C4 and other explosives, M18A1 Claymore mines, mine clearing equipment for the mines that they laid.
Yeah, right.
Medical supplies.
Where did we put them?
Artillery, 142 howitzers, 155 millimeter howitzers, then another 36 105 millimeter howitzers, and their ammunition. 38 HIMARS systems, 20 mortar systems, and ammunition. Let's see. As of December, before the tank push, 45 T-72B tanks, 200 M113 armored personnel carriers, 250 armored security vehicles. We got 1,000 Humvees, 298 tactical vehicles, 44 trucks. Give me one of these fucking trucks.
Right.
Let's see. We've got 700 Switchblade drones and 1,800 Phoenix Ghost drones.
Ooh.
20 Mi-17 helicopters. I mean, you just hundreds of thousands of pieces of equipment, like war equipment that we are just sending over there.
Oh, yeah. It sounds like we just built their military for them.
How much of that are they losing?
Right.
Like, how much of that is getting destroyed? Because from what it sounds like, we're not providing enough equipment versus what's being destroyed by Russia. Based on what Zelensky's begging, it's like, we got to do more, guys.
Yeah.
They're destroying our equipment as fast as it can get here. My question is, how much of it is he selling to other places? Like, how much of it isn't getting? Because we talked about the money that doesn't get to the front lines. Remember, it's just like, well, like only like 40% of it's actually getting to the front lines, and the rest of it's getting held up. It's like, well, where the fuck's that money going?
Right.
So, not to mention the equipment.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw firsthand example of how we hand over all this equipment in Afghanistan.
Right. Yeah, it's disposable, right?
Do you know where that equipment is possibly heading now?
Ukraine.
Russia, actually.
Oh, it is Russia buying them?
Yeah, there's rumors out there that Russia is looking to Afghanistan to buy our equipment from the Afghanis that we left. We left them with the goodness of our heart.
That's irony, isn't it?
How much irony is that? It's like we've got Russia fighting, or Ukraine fighting Russia with U.S.-provided weapons, and Russia is fighting back or attacking with U.S.
that they get from Afghanistan,
from
no less.
Afghanistan.
Weapons we gave to Afghanistan to fight the Russians.
The Russians and the Taliban.
Yes.
And, so they're tapping the Taliban to fight fire with fire, I guess. I don't know.
They're like, two can play that. We'll have U.S. weapons versus U.S. weapons.
Now, what bothers me is the U.S. alone has sent more money, and I've said this before. The U.S. has sent more money alone to Ukraine to aid in this war than Russia has spent on their own on this war.
Yeah.
It's like, what exactly is Ukraine providing in this war if we are fronting the majority of the bill? And here's an example. Here's a look of how much we send them versus all the other countries.
That's insane.
$22.9 billion to Ukraine in 2022, which obviously that's higher now because we said upwards of $50 billion, and now up to $113 billion, versus $3.3 billion to Israel. That's shocking to me.
That is.
Now here is a look at what other countries are spending. So we're sitting here at the top at over $50 billion. The entire EU has spent less than $30 billion.
Slackers.
Right. That's like all the countries that make up Europe, basically, minus Great Britain and Germany, who are really slacking on their part too. Well, you know, Germany doesn't want to.
Oh yeah, they don't want to piss
too
off
many
the
feathers,
Russians.
even though they're sending tanks now. Yeah. But so, what do you think of all this financial aid that we are sending?
Yeah, it makes me sick. I mean, it's not like we're in the middle of an inflation or anything.
Oh,
like
no,
that's
all transitionary or whatever they said 3 years ago.
Absolutely.
That's all.
It's temporary.
It's temporary. Yeah,
won't last long.
Yeah, and that's all caused by the Russian war. So, if we beat the Russians at their own game by sending billions of dollars, then we'll at the end of the day help our inflation over here because I mean, Russia started the inflation, so we have to end Russia in order to end inflation.
Right. Yeah,
that's how
that
it
makes
works.
sense to me.
Spend more money on war. Actually, it's probably. I'm surprised they haven't come out with. War is really good for economies.
Oh yeah.
I mean, look at post World War II. Look at post World War I. Every post war.
Yeah.
Our economy has flourished. You guys want this war. We're in a recession here. You guys want this war. I'm surprised they just haven't bold-faced come out and said it. Been like, oh yeah, we're in a war, but you know how fucking great this is for recessions, right?
Right. No, I'm surprised Biden hasn't gotten there yet.
How did we beat the Great Depression?
War.
World War II.
That's right.
Kick that shit down the road.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah. Spend a bunch of money so we can make money. They say spend money to make money.
Yeah.
Spend money on war so we can
make more money.
Live happy lives here. Well, somebody's making money.
Yeah. I not us.
I haven't seen it yet, but maybe
trickle down. It'll get there. It'll get there.
Yeah, when do we get our roaring 20s moment where if we're just living high on these post-war the post-war economics, how everybody was out buying cars and shit after both the world wars. It's like, man, when Afghanistan ended. How come we didn't? Why
Right.
weren't we experiencing this shit?
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
Maybe that's why they drag the wars out so long these
Yes.
days. So like, we don't want them to experience that. We
Yeah.
just want to experience that. So maybe that's what it is. So $50 billion, now upwards of $113 billion.
Right.
And we've got Zelensky obviously asking for more because
yeah.
that's what he does. He comes on all the public shows,
yeah.
all the public, we talked about the World Economic Forum last week.
Yeah.
Go back and listen to that episode. It was fun. The World Economic Forum, Davos, is always a blast to talk
It is.
about, but especially when Zelensky comes and holds out his hands and demands.
He's like a televangelist now, isn't it?
He's
if
not-
you want to save your freedom.
Yeah, he's not even like a beggar. He's not like begging.
No.
He like flat out demands
Oh, yeah,
this shit.
yeah.
It's like, remember that? Another recap. Remember, I think it was back in August when he was like, "I need $7 billion a month
Yeah.
for my country."
Yeah.
And we're just like,
Yeah.
the fuck did you just say?
Right.
Or the one time when he's like, I have this expense, this expense, this expense. That adds up to $8 trillion. Who's gonna fork that
right.
over?
You?
It's just like,
You?
who the fuck are you?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah.
So we can't go any further. I mean, we're recapping this, so we
Right.
gotta point out the main players on this, which
Yes.
is Vladimir Zelensky and Vladimir Putin, which is
Yes.
very. There's so many Vlads. And
There
Vlads
is.
over
I know
there.
it's really hard in the when you get to Eastern Europe like that.
So let's start with Vladimir Zelensky.
Yes. The hero of freedom.
Now, here, take a look at this, and then let's take a look at our image of Putin. Both shirtless.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, equally, would you say equally as intimidating? Zelensky, Putin. If you're listening,
I got to give it to Putin.
You
I
think?
do. Yeah. Yeah.
if you're listening, we got Putin with no shirt on running through a field with a sniper rifle at probably like 60 years old.
right.
Or we've got Zelensky with his shirt
Yes.
hiked up
he,
to
he
his
looks
nipples.
like he's at a German disco.
Now, what you don't see here is he is also wearing high heels. Not
No,
joking.
I believe
I'm not
that.
joking.
I believe that.
He's wearing
I do.
high heels.
Yes.
This is the gayest looking thing I've ever seen.
Is
And
it?
I've seen gay shit. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was gonna say because he's a comedian, isn't he?
Yeah,
in
he's
his-
a comedian,
when he's
an
not
actor,
a politician.
Clearly a gay dancer.
Yeah, clearly.
I mean,
Yes.
so we've got Putin. Here, let's look back at
Yes.
Putin.
And that's him. He left his bear back behind the bush.
Yeah.
He usually rides a bear around the
Yeah,
country.
and he just shot like a rhinoceros.
yeah, right. Which he's gonna eat raw.
Yes. Former KGB op.
Yes.
For 16 years as an operative in the KGB. He became the acting president in 96 when whoever was currently stepped down. And then was
it
appointed.
Yeltsin? Boris Yeltsin.
I think so, yeah.
yeah.
Then in 99, right before Y2K happened, he was appointed prime minister, and that's when Alex Jones was like, oh my gosh, he sent the nukes. He hit the button, and everybody freaked out and ran for the hills. Then in 2012, he was... So he served his 2 terms as prime minister. So there's prime minister and there's president. You can only serve 2 terms as prime minister. He was only acting president, so he could technically run again. So in 2012, he ran as president and got reelected. And then somewhere in there, he passed a law to extend his presidency to 2036.
Yes.
Is how far he can he can currently be president. So the foreseeable future, he
Yes.
can remain
He's
president.
not looking at stepping down anytime soon.
No, it doesn't seem like it.
And I had read an article in Pravda where they're talking about, maybe after 2036, clearing the slate and letting his term start over again.
Well, I mean, I guarantee you he's going to pass some other law.
Oh, yeah.
That puts. But 2036, what shit? That's in 13
I was gonna say,
years.
he's 60 years old. I mean, that's...
I don't know what he is, but I mean,
Yeah.
I guess Biden's doing it, so might as well.
Yeah. But thankfully, Biden's not doing that.
Can you imagine Biden running around with
that
no shirt on?
No, with a sniper rifle.
So, former KGB op, sniper, bear hunter.
Yes.
He even remember he like flew a plane and
Yes,
taught
and
taught
saved
geese
geese.
how to fly or
Yes,
something,
yes, yeah.
just like that movie
Yes.
Fly Away Home.
The myths of Putin and Russia are exactly what you would think it would be for
Yes,
Russia.
absolutely. Then we have this guy, a former comedian, like you said,
Yes.
a former actor. He created his own production company to make his own films and his own comedy special that toured the country. He starred in a TV show called Servant of the People, where he played the role of president in Ukraine, and he has continued to act as the leader of Ukraine ever since. Do you know where his political party came from?
Mm-mm.
His own production company formed a political party called Servant of the People based on his television show. So there wasn't even like a legit forming of a like he's an actor, has his own production company, and they're like, you're really good at playing this president thing.
Yeah.
Let's make this a real thing. Let's morph this from fiction to reality, and that's exactly what they did. They're like, we'll create a political party based on your character here, and you will portray. I mean, you got all the character experience here, so you're perfect for the job. And then he was elected with 75% of the vote.
Yeah.
I mean,
People like to show that much.
Well-
wouldn't he be a great president?
right.
You know who I thought would be a great president? After Independence Day, I thought Bill Pullman would be a great president.
Obviously, he would have been a really good president. Fight all the aliens. That's pretty much. Oh, I forgot the other accolade. At one point, he voiced the Ukrainian version of Paddington the Bear.
What?
So he's got all the experience. I mean, we had Donald Trump, so we can't say
no,
that much.
I know, but yeah.
And this guy at least acted a president.
That's true.
So
He
I guess
did
he
have
does.
Ronald Reagan.
I guess he does have more experience as president than Trump did
That's true.
because he
Yes,
acted
he
president at
pretended-
least.
Yes.
Now, while he was campaigning, he campaigned as anti-establishment and anti-corruption. Who does that remind you of?
Yeah, right.
Donald
It's
Trump?
Yeah.
But would you say, based on what you know of Volodymyr Zelensky now, would you say he's anti-establishment or anti-corruption, or would you say he's hard shoe-in of the
I was gonna
establishment?
say, if there was a swamp, he would be the Everglades.
He is, yes, he is the swamp. He is
the swamp.
He is like the swamp monster in the swamp.
Yes.
He's the evil troll at the
Yes.
bridge that
collects
demands
the
your
gold.
collects
Yes.
the gold at the edge of the swamp.
Yes.
That is Volodymyr Zelensky.
And tells you he's going to use that to fight all the monsters in the swamp that are probably working for him.
So Zelensky being as anti-establishment, I got to get rid of this picture. God, I'm tired of
I
looking
mean, that
at
picture looks anti-establishment, right?
Yes, obviously. Now, Zelensky, his name, being all, anti-establishment that he was, his name came up in the Pandora Papers. Remember the Pandora Papers?
Yes.
It's just like a report of all these like high up bigwig politicians with offshore accounts, like hiding money. Like, who was it that had a flat in Britain that was like $1 million flat, and it was like some foreign I can't remember who that was. Remember we talked about that though.
Yes.
I don't remember, but it was just a lot of weird shit. But Zelensky's name came up, being anti-corruption that he was.
Of course.
So I just wanted to hit on that real quick, just so we can really get to know this guy a little more. Because this was about a year ago. It says, anti-oligarch, Ukrainian president's offshore connections. Remember when the war kicked off?
Mm-hmm.
Another flashback. And they're like, we're going to go after all the Russian oligarchs and
Yeah,
all their super
yeah.
yachts and all these,
Yeah.
It turns out
bank accounts and freezer accounts.
yeah, it turns out Ukraine has similar oligarchs because Vladimir Zelensky was hiding like upwards of $41 million in offshore accounts.
Oh wow.
So it says it was a storyline that in earlier times would have seemed impossible. For 4 years, the actor and comedian Volodymyr Zelensky entertained TV audiences in Ukraine with his starring role in the sitcom Servant of the People. So this wasn't even like a drama series. It was a sitcom. Right. It was a TV sitcom. So it was a joke. It was a fucking joke. Zelensky played a teacher who, outraged by his country's chronic corruption, successfully runs as president. In 2019, Zelensky made fiction real when he contested Ukraine's actual president election and won. On the campaign trail, Zelensky pledged to clean up Ukraine's oligarch-dominated ruling system, and he railed against politicians such as the wealthy incumbent Petro Poroshenko, who hid their assets offshore. Then it talks about...
Wasn't he the Victoria Nuland
I don't know if he was or not, or if he came after. They're all Victoria Nuland plants. The Pandora Papers leaked to the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists and shared with The Guardian as part of a global investigation, however, suggest Zelensky is rather similar to his predecessors. The leaked documents suggest he had or has a previously undisclosed stake in an offshore company, which he appears to have secretly transferred to a friend weeks before winning the presidential vote.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like, no, guys, I don't. This guy has so many offshore accounts. He's so corrupt, and he's like, here, hold on to this real quick for me.
See, I got nothing.
There are no offshore accounts. Says Zelensky has not commented on the claim, despite extensive attempts by The Guardian and its media partners to reach him. The files revealed he participated in a sprawling network of offshore companies co-owned with his longtime friends and TV business partners. They include Serhiy Sheffer, who produced Zelensky's hit show, and Sheffer's older brother, Boris, who wrote the scripts. Another member of the consortium is Ivan Bakanov, a childhood friend who is the general director of Zelensky's production studio. Sounds like his whole production company and acting gig was a money laundering scheme.
Right, yeah. Just to make,
It was a big corrupt money scandal. It says all are associated with his hometown in southern Ukraine. After winning power, Zelensky brought those close allies into government. Great. So not only was he scamming money through his production company, but then when he won president, he brought all those people in with him. I wonder how many of those are the people that stepped down last week because of the money scandals.
Oh, I'm sure all of them.
Bakanov became head of Ukraine's SBU security agency. Zelensky made Sheffer his first assistant, an unpaid role that involves handling the president's daily schedule, quote-unquote unpaid. A fourth member of his close-knit group, Andriy Yakovlev, is a film director and his production company's producer. Zelensky has said these appointments were about personal trust rather than financial cronyism. That's what they all say. Like, oh no, it's not about like handouts and shit like that. It's all because I can trust these guys.
Yeah, it's not nepotism. It's just that's somebody I can trust to make these decisions and hold that money.
Yes. It says a secret transfer. Before becoming president, Zelensky declared some of his private assets. They included cars, property, and 3 of the co-owned offshore companies. One film heritage, which he held jointly with his wife Elena, she was a former writer too with his company. They're all like, it's kind of like FTX.
Yes, that's exactly what it sounds like.
And we talked about the FTX connections with Ukraine. It's almost set up like that, where it's just all these like buddies who don't know what the fuck they're doing, but they're all these young kids that are making money, and they're just like, living in an orgy house somewhere. That's probably him in his orgy house.
Probably.
Says the Pandora Papers show further offshore assets that Zelensky appears to not have revealed. Film Heritage had 25% stake in Devegra, a Cyprus holding company. Devegra, this goes on and on, makes all these connections. Eventually comes down to he had upwards of like $41 million being stored offshore in his name, and he's the candidate against corruption, and he specifically ran against offshore cronyism, offshore like corruption and scandals, and he's just as fucking guilty of it. But let's trust him with the $113 billion that we're sending off to that country. Don't worry, he's gonna make sure those get to where they need to be,
because he's the anti-corruption guy.
Yeah, especially when you get FTX involved with him too. Right. I mean,
oh yeah.
How much of this do you find is just a big vicious like scandal? Basically,
I mean, that's all this seems like is just one giant money laundering, war profiteering. I mean, cycle.
But then you get dumbasses like the guy from FTX that just like to run their mouths and don't
Yeah.
know how to cover their tracks too good
Right.
and ends up losing a bunch, and then it opens up the door to it just puts it all out on display.
Right. Yeah.
So we see all these connections, and we start making these connections. I'm surprised that guy hasn't been offed yet.
No, I'm surprised
It's
too.
just like,
yeah.
dude, we had a good thing going here.
But it hasn't gone to trial yet.
Yes.
So I'm waiting for that still.
We will see on that. So,
But, again, this is stuff nobody's talking about because the mainstream, Zelensky is the global freedom fighter. He's the one
obviously.
that everybody is. He's the great white hope against Putin. That's why we're backing him.
he's the face of Ukrainian freedom, I
Yeah.
read on one of these posts as I was
Exactly.
reading. The face of Ukrainian freedom. Not the people that are out there like actually dying and
yeah,
shit.
Yeah.
But maybe he's the ghost of Kiev. I'm surprised he hasn't come out and been like, guys, I am actually the ghost
That
of
would
Kiev.
not surprise me. He shows like some old clips from Top Gun. That was me. But remember, he was the one when they were like, "Hey, you need to seek refuge. You need to get." And he's like, "I will not leave my country."
Yeah, and there's like videos of him like walking down the streets and
Yeah.
stuff after they've been cleared out and
Yeah,
all
right.
that shit. Yeah, he's been this like front man leader type, putting on this big show. And again, you gotta think it's all an act.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did this guy get this spot?
Yeah.
I mean, he's clearly got ridiculous financial issues.
Yeah.
Like he's not clean and shiny like they portray him out to be.
Yeah.
And when shit comes like out a year ago of how he's not clean and shiny, how is it that we're just like, this guy he's an outstanding guy, we'll just send him all these billions of dollars in aid. Don't worry about where it's going. It's fine. Well, probably because we have some kind of tie. Our top guys have some kind of tie in this whole fucking scandal too. It's not like, oh yeah, we just trust him. It's like, no, he's doing what we're doing pretty
Exactly.
much.
Yeah, yeah.
War is a racket.
Yes.
War's a fucking racket. And so we got companies that are making money off this war because they're basically the government's paying the people that put them in the power to make the bombs that they're sending to Ukraine, and Ukraine is probably shipping those around the world and making his money off of it too.
Well, I mean, how much? Remember when we were talking about FTX? I mean, how much of that money was coming back to the politicians here in the country
Through FTX, I'm
Right.
sure.
Yeah.
Based on some.
So I mean,
rumors that we
it
saw.
just was a win-win for all these corrupt assholes.
That-
Could think of
that's
a better
all it is.
word.
Yes. No, that's it. So let's keep talking about Zelensky because I talked about. I don't think I have the article here.
Oh.
The corruption scandal. Let me see if I can find that one.
The recent one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find that. Ukraine
Hell, wouldn't
money scandal.
it's probably going to come out eventually that Putin's also a part owner of the offshore accounts.
Well, I think like it was all these world leaders that they were connecting with, and Putin
Right.
was probably one of them.
Oh, I'm sure.
But I think that article had said something about Zelensky having ties with some Russian company that was doing like a lot of his money laundering for him too.
Oh, yeah,
It's
that
like
doesn't
we're
surprise
fighting
me.
against
Yeah.
Russia, but don't worry, we're gonna do some. We're basically have Russian ties. So this was the current one. Talks about Ukraine rocked by a corruption scandal. Obviously, this doesn't tie back to Zelensky because
Right.
nobody has called out Zelensky on this yet.
Yeah.
But Ukraine has been rocked by a corruption scandal as recent as last week, with a wave of top officials resigning, sports cars, mansions, and luxury vacations as people suffered. But none of this war racket money is contributing to that,
no.
and it's all just like individuals, like lone wolves. It's not this
Oh,
big.
sure.
It's not this big like ring of corruption. It's just like onesies and twosies. Because it says the Ukrainian government on Tuesday confirmed the resignation of multiple high-ranking officials amid large-scale corruption allegations in what's being called the biggest mass resignation and graft scandal since the Russian invasion began. How much have you heard the news talking about this?
Not much. Not much at all.
No, because then people might step back and be like, okay, remind me again why we're sending $113 billion to Ukraine.
But again, nobody that I know has nobody I know of has been like, wow, I really hope we send more money to Ukraine. I mean, except for the idiots that are flying the Ukrainian flags and they
Just
don't
down the street from here, they got 2
Right.
Ukrainian flags and 3 upside down American flags, and I'm like, what the fuck do you stand for?
Yeah, right, exactly. But I mean, it's like, but nobody's like being like, hey, we really hope Ukraine kicks Russia's ass, except for those guys, because
Yeah.
they don't understand what's going on.
Says maybe we just hang in the wrong circles.
I guess so.
Maybe we're just hanging with a bunch of Russian bots. Did you ever think about we're just hanging with a bunch of Russian bots?
I have thought about that here and there.
Maybe we are Russian bots. Have
We
you
could
guys
be,
ever
yes.
thought that we're possibly just Russian bots and we're not even real? It says some dozen officials have quit their post after a huge political shakeup over allegations and probes into cases ranging from bribery to mismanagement of aid funds for purchasing food to embezzlement to driving expensive cars while common people suffer under wartime conditions.
Where do they drive the expensive cars? I thought all the roads were blown up.
Well, this is the part that gets to me. Mismanagement of aid funds for purchasing foods.
Yeah.
That's how they're getting their expensive cars. We're sending, what was it, like $20 billion in like humanitarian aid, and these people are driving their expensive cars through with these funds. A top presidential advisor and 4 deputy ministers, among these 2 defense officials, along with 5 regional governors, were forced out of their posts. And among the regional governors to step down included officials overseeing regions which have seen intense fighting.
That's fucked up.
Oh, probably. You remember the governor guy that was talking? He was the big push into the genocide in his region.
Yes, I remember that.
He's probably one driving a fancy
Probably.
car. Let's see. We've got General Alsky Simonenko,
So a general?
Ivan Lukiero. Let's see. Let's combine. Let's compare some of these names. Oh, that's not it. Let's see. Pandora Papers. Let's see if any of these people show up in here. Sorry, bear with me. Ivan, because I remember there's an Ivan, but there's a lot of Ivans in Russia.
That's true.
Or Ukraine. Ivan Bakanov was a child. So different Ivan. My bad. Vyacheslav Negoda, Vitaly Muzienko, and this name that I'm not even going to pronounce. Dnipropetrovsk Zaporozhye. How do they come up with these names?
They call him Zap for short.
Separately, the Defense Ministry had earlier announced the resignation of Deputy Ministers, that name, who was in charge of the Army's logistical support. On the heels of accusations, it was signing food contracts at inflated prices. Money laundering. Straight up money. I mean,
war profiteering.
yes. In charge of the Army's logistical support. You know where we're sending the majority of the money? And based on their logistical recommendations, like, we need this and this and this. The guy in charge of the Army's logistics and where all that shit goes was skimming.
Yeah.
Was skimming off the top. In this case, regarding the food contracts, Shapilov is accused of signing a deal with an unknown shady firm. In his role as Deputy Defense Minister, his is the most notable and visible resignation. Crucially, he would have had no small part in overseeing the billions of dollars flowing from the pockets of U.S. and European taxpayers as authorized defense aid. He purchased military rations at inflated prices in what appears to be a scheme to line the pockets of contractors and potentially involved kickbacks to himself. So you want to know where the $113 billion are going?
Yeah.
There it is.
But you know what? We're going to probably end up sending another $50 billion here in the next couple months. So, you know, because that doesn't deter us. Our politicians do the same thing.
Says, while the Defense Ministry is still trying to downplay it as a technical error, political reviews of the details to the scandal. It says, an expose from the Ukrainian news website revealed last week that the Defense Ministry purchased overpriced food supplies for its troops. I mean, our military does that.
Oh, yeah. No, they do. Absolutely.
For instance, the military bought eggs at 17 hryvnias per piece.
Is that
per
per piece?
Yeah, I don't know how much a hryvnia, what the conversion rate is.
What is it?
Hryvnias. While the average price of an egg is about 7 hryvnias. So they're paying 10 more hryvnias per egg than than they should have been.
Okay.
According to the website, a contract for food procurement for soldiers in 2023 amounted to 13.16 billion hryvnias, or 328 euros, or million euros. 328 million euros. This is 2 to 3 times higher than the current rate for such food. His resignation letter indicated he's stepping down so as not to pose a threat to the stable supply of armed forces in Ukraine.
What was it per egg? 17
hryvnias per egg.
Okay.
And they're typically 7, so he's paying like 30 times as much and getting kickbacks for it. But he stepped down to not pose a threat to the stable supply of American forces of Ukraine as a result of a campaign of accusations related to the purchase of food services. So, scandal after scandal.
It's still cheaper than eggs here.
Is it? Fucking Ukraine. How much is a hryvnia?
It's 0.027 cents.
So 7 of those would be about 14 cents per egg, 15 cents per egg, times a dozen.
So it was 46 cents an egg.
Okay.
17. So yeah, it was $5.50 a dozen.
And that's 3 times compared to what they were. Yeah. So they're typically paying about $1.50 for a dozen eggs. So thank you. Because we're sending our billions for you to spend extra hryvnias on your eggs, our eggs have gone astronomically high.
Yeah.
So thank you, Ukraine. Thank you to all those involved in this scandal.
Yes, it makes you feel good.
It does. It really does. But has anybody here in the United States at government levels been like, that's a little fishy? Besides probably Rand Paul would be the only one I could think would be like, this shit's odd. Something's off here. Yeah. Maybe we should put this on hold until we figure out where this money's going.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, from what you know, is there any sort of trace or trail of where are we getting receipts back where this is getting spent?
No, there's no IOUs, nobody's taking
or anything.
Nobody's like, oh well, thank you. Here's exactly what we spent.
Yeah, is there an inventory checklist of hey, like your money has gone to this many eggs and this many automobiles and this many mansions and this many yachts?
Yeah, and if somebody said something, they'd be like, I'm insulted.
Yeah,
you think that I would? My people are at war.
Yeah, we're at war, and you think we're skimming money?
Why would we do that? Who do you think we are?
But this guy keeps coming back for more, though.
I know.
It's like after the scandal happens, he comes out last week and is like, guys, we need tanks. We need lots of tanks.
Yeah.
And then we gave him tanks, and he's like, guys, these tanks were great. Now, the way I don't know if it's like the Ukrainian way, but it's so blunt. Like we Americans, when we ask for stuff, we're kind of passive aggressive about it.
It's like maybe a couple compliments. It's like first.
I know, we're really. I hate to do this, and I hate to ask, and
I'm good for it. I will pay you back.
Don't feel like you have to.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
This guy is just like, I need tanks because this is what his latest request, his impassioned appeal for tanks and artillery, because the Kremlin must lose. But this is what he says. Let me see if I can find the exact quote. I could thank you hundreds of times, and it would be absolutely just and fair, given all that we have already done, Zelensky began. So he starts out, he's like, I could thank you 100 times. But hundreds of thanks are not hundreds of tanks.
That should be a T-shirt.
It should. It's going to be. It's going to be now. Does that not almost sound like unappreciative? Like it's not good, guys. It's not good enough.
That's the thing, though. He feels like he's doing the world a favor.
Well, yeah,
by fighting Russia.
Well, he is technically.
Yeah, I know.
We talked about this last week. I think he's like, you guys pushed me into this. I didn't.
I don't want this. So
So you're gonna front the bill for it.
I need some tanks and maybe some jets. And let's get some more boats over here.
Hundreds of things are not hundreds of tanks. All of us can use thousands of words in discussions, but I cannot put words instead of the guns that are needed against Russian artillery, or instead of the anti-aircraft missiles that are needed to protect people from Russian airstrikes. He told the summit chaired by the U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. His appeal, I wouldn't even call that appeal. I'd say it's more of a demand. His demand amid speculation that members of NATO would provide Ukraine with major weapons commitments, and as Kiev warned that Russia is preparing for a fresh offensive in Ukraine in 2023. It says Oleksiy Danilov, Secretary of Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council, told Ukrainian television on Monday that Kiev expected Russian troops to attempt to make a so-called final push, which could take place on the invasion's anniversary, February 24th, or in March. Danilov appealed for weapons and aid to help us defeat this aggressor that invaded our country. So, what did the U.S. do? They rolled over.
Oh, fuck yeah, they did.
They rolled over just like the tanks they sent them. They're just like, yeah, sure. What did they send them? I have it written down. 31 M1 Abram tanks is what we sent, and Germany fronted 14 Leopard 2 tactical tanks. So both countries are like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we'll go for that.
But and it's one of the things. So Ukraine is, I mean, it's become the new Afghanistan. I mean, let's face it. And what's going to happen is,
but Ukraine's more demanding than Afghanistan.
Well,
Afghanistan,
yes.
we're just like, take all our shit.
Yeah. Well,
and they're like, no, just leave.
Yeah.
Just fucking leave. But with Ukraine, it's like, no, you stay here and you keep sending me shit.
Because you know what's going to happen the moment we say no. Sorry, Zelensky, we can't do it. He's going to be like, hey, Putin. Guess what U.S. said about you? Let's go get those bastards.
Yes. Hey, I'm looking at switching sides up here.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't go over well because you remember why we caused the Ukrainian civil war to begin with was because Ukraine was like, hey, Putin, we kind of like you better than we like them. And we're like, oh, fuck no, you don't.
Yeah.
And we caused a civil war. Yep. And then Victoria what's her name?
Nuland, yeah.
Nuland was like, yeah, we like this guy better, and appointed him as president.
And every time they're like, oh, man, that's really steep, Zelensky. I don't know if I can do that. And he's like, well, Putin said he would give us tanks, so and they're like, okay, you got tanks.
Now, I did see an article after we decided to send them tanks. He gave 2 words as a response. Too late. Does this guy appreciate anything?
No, fuck no.
Because then after that fact, he says, today is the day of extremely good news for Ukraine. There is a tank coalition. There is a decision to launch the supply of tanks for our defense. Modern tanks, Zelensky said at his nightly address to Ukrainians, noting his conversations with Biden and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. I'm grateful to all our allies for their willingness to provide us with modern and much-needed tanks. At least this time he's a little appreciative. Yeah. All this proves the most important fact for the world today. In fact, freedom is only getting stronger, and the way we are all working together to strengthen freedom. He sounds like George Bush.
I was just going to say that.
To defend Ukraine and Europe is a historic achievement, and the leaders who are working now. He goes on to say, where is it? Says the Ukrainian president is now renewing his request for military aircraft as he seeks to shore up Ukrainians' land. He says he talked to NATO's Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg about Ukraine's dream for long-range missiles, artillery, and aircraft. It's like, well, we got them to push on tanks.
Yeah.
Let's try jets,
right?
And missiles, long range, not the short range missile. We want long range missiles and artillery. Can we get some jets and missiles and artillery? That'd be great because the tanks. I mean, 100 tanks isn't 100 jets. 100 tanks aren't 100 tanks, and 100 tanks aren't 100 jets. Yeah. So come on, guys, like stop being so selfish here.
Yeah. What we're doing is we're building Ukraine up to be the next powerhouse,
obviously,
in Asia.
But not so much that they can stand on their own feet.
No,
we still want to be able to control them.
Of course, yes.
We want a puppet there that's a powerhouse puppet.
Yeah.
That can be. I mean, we talked about Ukraine's always just been our buffer.
Right. Yeah.
Our buffer between us and Russia, and we want somebody where we can place all our weapons. And this war in, this invasion, quote unquote, by Russia was just a good reason for us to build up our weapon systems there in Ukraine. Because before, when Russia wasn't advancing, it's just like, well, if we send a bunch of, I mean, this might kind of look aggressive if we're just stationing a bunch of our shit there in Ukraine. I mean, we already got a station in Poland, and Russia doesn't like that shit. Imagine if we station all their shit. Wait till they start putting nukes in Ukraine.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
That's next.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely it is. Yeah, because Ukraine is going to become that the Israel of
what do you
Asia.
think Israel thinks of all this?
They're probably a little jealous right now.
$113 billion, and Israel's only gotten like $3 billion.
It's like that meme of the guy and the girl walking down the street, and the girl's Israel and the U.S., and then Ukraine's walking towards us, and he's like...
Looking back, yes, absolutely. At what point do we say we're actually in this war? That's my question. At what point are we actively participating? Because I know, there's all these laws of war, which is it's weird to me that there's some international bodies like, you guys can have your wars, but you have to follow these strict rules.
Right.
Like, you can kill each other, that's fine, but you have to kill each other the way we tell you to kill each other. Yeah. And we have these neutrality laws. Now, it used to be, back in the day, pre-World War II, in the 20s, I think, 1928, I think is when it changed. To be considered neutral, you had to be neutral.
Right.
Yeah.
Switzerland.
Absolutely neutral. Absolutely impartial, non-biased, not impartial, anything, non-participants.
Yes.
You couldn't take side. You couldn't come out and be like, I kind of agree with these guys more. No, to be considered a neutral party, you
stay the
neutral.
Fuck out of it.
Now, since it was the buildup of World War II, when we started doing, what was that Lend-Lease program, remember?
Yes.
That, was it Roosevelt that had?
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, we're not going to be in this war, and we're not going to sell them weapons, but we're going to lease them our weapons, and they're just indefinitely, pretty much.
Yeah.
But we're not part of this war. Well, then, shockingly, coincidentally, the laws of war changed, and I'm assuming we had a lot to do with that, had a lot of influence.
I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, that's acceptable. You can still be considered neutral and still supply all the fuck tons of weapons you want.
Absolutely.
So, technically, we're not breaking...
Yeah. I mean, look at everything Reagan did, with the Sandinistas and Iran-Contra. I mean, it was just...
No, none of that was legal, Bill.
No, I know
what
that.
he did with the Iran-Contras was far from legal.
No, I know, but I'm just saying that's where things had leaned, and now we have the NED that does that shit.
Yeah, it does it all for us. Yes, absolutely. But apparently, based on this 1928 thing, we're still considered neutral in all this.
Sure.
Legal, from a legal sense.
Yeah.
But do you think, Putin looks at it and it's like, oh, yeah, obviously they're neutral based on the laws of 1928.
No, he knows what's going on. He knows what's going on. I mean, but he's not going to call it out. Because the moment he escalates, that's when we'll have troops on the ground. The moment that this becomes a what's it called, a special operation now, is what they're still terming it in Russia, right? It's kind of like the United States police action. So as long
Which one?
Right, exactly. But as soon as it goes from a special operation to war, that's when we'll have boots on the ground. I mean, of course, we have CIA there now. I mean, someone's got to teach them how to fly the planes and use the anti-aircraft and drive the tanks.
Right. Now, both sides of this have been like, you take one more step, it's basically a declaration of war, and we're going to say, and then the other side's like, you cross that red line, and you're fucking with NATO, and it's like neither side wants to be the first one to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Both sides want it to happen.
Yeah.
But neither side wants to be the aggressor in this. And I feel like the U.S. is doing everything they can, not just the U.S., but the West in general.
Yeah.
The EU and the U.S. is doing everything they can to do as much as they can and still say that they weren't the aggressor.
I was thinking about that when I was reading some of the articles you had sent tonight, and does it almost seem like Putin's stalling for time?
Well, yeah, because spring's coming.
Well, yeah, no, spring is coming, but remember, that was the criticism about Russia last time when going in this time of year was that they were going in during the muddy season, right? And it was going to slow things down. I almost wonder, is he stalling until China goes into Taiwan, and then it's all of a sudden the focus shifts?
Now, I did see, and I was going to get there, but I did see. There's some general, Air Force general or something, that came out last week and was like, I could see us at full-fledged war with China by 2025.
Yeah.
It's just like this kind of talk here. Just like, first of all, just saying those words.
Right.
What do you think China's thinking when this like high up general's like,
all right, bitch.
you know, it's like, all right, let's do it. It's
Yeah.
like, now I'm not saying we're going to.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying I could see
Yeah.
us at war
Why would you even say
by
that?
2035. Right. And I have this article here before we get into break. I mean, you brought it up. We might as well jump all over the place. It's literally titled, Applying Lessons of the Naval War in Ukraine for a Potential War with China.
There you go.
I don't know what our game plan here is, but I don't feel like we're in the position for a multifaceted war.
No, definitely.
And that's what it seems like we're being pushed towards. It's like, well, I could see us using this in China. I mean, there's big talks on Iran. Like, supposedly Russia is negotiating with Iran right now. And we're like, well, we need to ramp up sanctions on Iran. We need to push in
but
Iran.
We've known they've been allies for years,
but
along
more.
with Venezuela.
They're more now, though.
Oh, of course.
They're more
Oh,
allies.
they're closer.
They're stronger allies now.
Okay.
And so it's just like we're threatening all these people.
Yeah.
And it's almost like we're looking for people to fight that aren't Russia.
Oh, yeah.
To suck Russia into it. It's like, well, we can't go to war with Russia, but we could go to war with Iran.
Right.
I mean, that's not asking much. And that might draw Russia to step in and like because right now we thought a bomb would accidentally bounce over the border into Poland or something, and we could say that they attacked. I mean, what Biden said? Didn't Biden say something like they literally attacked NATO? Or something, and France was like, "Fucking cool down, bro, cool down."
Yeah.
And so now it's like, well, we haven't been able to draw them past Ukraine yet. What if we start pushing around Iran, who we know is their big allies, and then maybe they come to their aid, and then we could say, you know, you attacked NATO, like you have no part in this, or say Russia starts supplying weapons to Iran, and we're like, whoa, you can't fucking do that, man.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we've talked about it. I think, you know, Russia, Iran, China, Venezuela, and some others, I mean, they do have kind of a NATO-type deal with them.
Yeah.
So that if shit goes down, you know, they're there. So, again, I mean, Russia could be holding out for China to move into Taiwan, and then all of a sudden, I mean, it's escalated at that point.
Do you think Russia has the potential to fight a war against NATO?
Not by themselves, you know. I don't think so. But, you know, I do think that, you know, with their partners, they could.
Which part? Who? I mean, we've talked about this. We got Iran. We got. Do you think China is gonna? China's got their own big ambition. We did a whole episode on this.
Yeah.
So we think China's using Russia
absolutely,
to do all their dirty work.
I think China's using everybody.
Yeah, to do their dirty work, and then they can be like, fuck you. Because, like, China still hasn't come out and been like, you know, you're right. Even though you're allies, they're just like, you know, whatever, fuck you.
Yeah, but I mean, China did come out, and I think they're like, well, yeah, if they use nukes, then we can't really support that.
Yeah, so I mean, they haven't come out and supported Russia.
Yeah,
China's on their own turn. They're not really allies with anybody.
Yeah.
China is allies with China.
Exactly,
China wants the world to be China.
Exactly.
So,
yeah,
I feel like maybe Putin might, or like Russia might be naive in thinking China would come to their back if it got to it. And maybe China would come to the back because they hate us so much. But at the end of the day, China turns around and is like, no, fuck you too, Russia.
And I could see that. I could absolutely see like that plot twist where they're like, sure, I got your back, you know, and just because they
kind of like the allies with the Soviet Union against Germany.
Right.
It's like, hey, you want to help us out here? You do all the dirty work. You lose the majority of the soldiers.
Yeah. But then it's a two-front war, and they can't win that.
Yeah, and then after Germany's done, it's like, yeah, fuck you too.
Yeah.
Sanctions out the ass on you guys. Cold War for 50 years. That's fine.
Yeah. No, I could see that. I mean,
it's the politics
absolutely.
of the world.
China's got big ambitions, and if Putin gets in the way because he's a mad dog, they feel, they have no problem getting rid of him.
Right. It is time for a break. I want to keep going down this path because I brought up, like, at what point are we at war? Because nobody is, up until now, it's been like, no, we're not going to war with them. But it seems like there's a couple world leaders that are letting it slip and like actually saying the parts out. Like, no, we are at war with them, and it makes me wonder what the implications of just uttering something like that actually is. Especially when you got somebody like Putin who already is looking for a reason to say we're at war. So I want to get into that when we come back. We're going to take 4 or 5 minutes, take a quick break, and then we're going to continue down this nice recap of the Russian-Ukraine war. So hang tight. We will be right back in just a minute.
Have you ever thought that maybe voting, maybe all this politics constantly surrounding you is not the way to achieve freedom in your life? Hi, I'm Remso W. Martinez, and I ask myself the same question. That's why I'm on a journey to find true freedom in my lifetime. From learning about financial independence, to new ways to develop rugged individualism, to amazing guests living strange, crazy, amazing lifestyles that you've only thought might be real, but actually are. Go ahead and check out my new show, On the Run with Remso W. Martinez at the We Are Libertarians Network. You can find On the Run with Remso W. Martinez on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play. You know how the internet works. Come on down and let's discover how to achieve real freedom in your life together.
Hey everybody, I just want to take this time to give a big shout out to the very first sponsor of the Break the Bell podcast. That is Goulash Media. They can be found at goulashmedia.net. Goulash Media specializes in graphic design, web design, audio recordings, video work, wedding videos, music videos, even political campaign videos. Goulash Media caters to the little guy with the big vision. You can check them out at goulashmedia.net. That's GOULASH media.net.
All right, we are back. Having all kinds of issues tonight, but we're powering through it. Mostly because of computer viruses. Probably from... Do you think it's more likely that computer viruses are from Russia or from Ukraine these days? Or China? China.
I'm gonna go China.
You think China?
Yeah, because what better way to do it than do it and then everybody's blaming Russia?
Now, I did see that Zelensky wants to charge. Now let me remember how this was put. My brain's not here, so I'm trying to recall everything. Zelensky wants to charge Russia with war crimes over cyber hacking.
Really?
War crimes for hacking.
Okay. Well, if you're going to do that, I mean, then there's a lot of people that will be nailed for war crimes.
Right, including us.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's uncharted war territory there.
Yeah.
Like cyber crime or war crimes for cyber hacking. I mean, that's like, first of all, cyber hacking is like uncharted war territory in the first place.
Yeah, it's kind of not defined. I would put it closer to like maybe terrorism,
sabotage,
yeah,
absolutely sabotage. I would.
Yeah.
Now, if
espionage,
if you're taking down like the entire country's grid,
yeah,
I mean, it really depends on what's happening. Like if you're shutting down the grid and people are like freezing to death and dying because of it,
right?
Maybe you could constitute that as war crime.
But if you're causing like people's airlines to like be delayed 2 hours.
Now, if you're putting, no, it's on the other hand, it's totally different if you put on such strict sanctions that the entire populace is starving to death in Russia.
Yeah,
that's not war crimes.
No, not at all. That's just
different.
Yeah, that's just turnabout, right?
That's just the shit that happens in war.
It's funny. I was after you had sent me some articles, I was perusing Pravda just to see what they're saying on the Russian side. Mm-hmm. And there was an op-ed that I had read, and it was one where somebody feels that, or they based on facts they've seen, they feel like Poland is going to make a major push to take over Ukraine.
Really?
Yes, because so apparently Ukraine used to be a big part of Poland for years.
Before it was part of Russia or
Yes,
after?
before it was part of Russia.
So maybe this whole thing isn't Russia trying to get
Maybe it's
territory back.
Poland.
Maybe it's Poland been
Exactly.
pushing the buttons the whole time.
Yes.
Poland's like, yeah, you can put your nukes here. That's fine. That's all fine.
Yes.
That's good. Now, I don't know if you noticed over there, Russia's really trying to take back Ukraine because they really, and Russia's like, we weren't going to do that at all.
So apparently, based on the facts, and I haven't looked into any of these, but they said that Poland's military has increased in size 175% in the last year. That they are conscripting male Ukrainians, refugees who come over there into military service. And they currently have 15,000 of them drafted in their military service.
Do you know that Poland also was famous for having a lot of at one point?
Concentration camps.
Nazis.
Yeah, right. There you go.
There's the Nazi
Right?
connection right there. Maybe Ukraine's getting all its Nazi
Yes.
supply from
Yes.
Poland.
Yes. Yeah.
Connecting dots.
Well, so they felt like Poland was trying to push this war, trying to push Ukraine into a war they can't win, and so they would be decimated, and then Poland can come in and pick up the pieces.
Save the day.
Yes.
Huh. Never crossed my
No
radar.
one looks at Poland.
Now you got to realize this is Pravda too, which is state-sponsored
Yeah,
Russian
exactly.
media.
Oh,
so
yeah, of
they're gonna
course.
push it
I
on
know, I know.
anybody. I mean, we do. I think I actually have a Pravda article for tonight. So we.
Yeah.
I mean, we do go and read both of them. I mean,
It's just interesting to see what the other side says.
It is.
So.
It's got to the point. Well, how much of ours is state-sponsored propaganda,
Well, yeah.
though, too?
No, you know it is. It is. Poland's kind of the verbal Kent of the world. Like, nobody would expect them. And they might be the Kaiser's Solsay.
Now, I don't know. Does Poland have the balls to pull off? I mean, isn't Poland basically our puppet? Like funded by us
basically,
constantly?
Yes. But, yeah. I mean, I don't put a lot of stock into the theory. I mean, I don't.
I don't know.
I mean,
We're gonna have to keep an eye on Poland now.
Yeah,
it
I
seems
know.
like. I mean, no short supply of Nazis. They got the nukes.
Yep.
They've got all of our arsenal.
Right.
Because remember, wasn't it Poland the one that we were like, oh yeah, just send your arsenal to Ukraine. We'll
get you new stuff.
We'll get you new stuff.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
worry about it. So we're not
Right.
supplying to Ukraine.
No.
But you send the shit that we already supplied you,
Yes.
and then we'll restock you.
Yeah.
So technically we're not, but now we're just full-fledged supplying to
Right.
Ukraine because we're like, yeah, let's cut out the middleman. Maybe Poland now is like, what the fuck, man? But Poland was the one that Germany pushed at the beginning of the week when Zelensky was demanding tanks, not thanks.
Yeah.
Germany was like, yeah, well, we give Poland the okay to send a lot of German tanks to Ukraine. Then all of a sudden Germany's like, and we're going to send tanks to Ukraine as well.
Yeah.
So right before we went to break, I was talking about like what qualifies us for being at war is us supplying all this shit. Like when we're literally supplying everything minus the troops for this war,
Right.
are we at war? Because technically, supposedly, we're not.
I mean, but I would probably say the United States probably supplies arms to at least 80% of the world.
The United States probably supplies the majority of war machines to the majority of the countries
so
at war.
are we in war with like everybody?
Technically, I would say yes.
Okay.
We're in proxy wars with everybody, and
All
that's
right.
the way we like it.
Yeah.
It keeps us in power without having to really.
And it keeps the industrial machine happy, so the senators stay fed, and you know.
And we don't.
Yeah. Right.
So now, on the other side, this is where it gets a little dicey. On the other side, we now have world leaders saying that quiet part out loud. Like Germany actually didn't come out like officially, I guess, but the German foreign minister, her name is Annalena Baerbock. She came out and said we're at war with Russia. Just flat out said it.
So they're not planning on getting any oil ever anymore.
No, apparently not. This is from Newsweek. It says German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock isn't bashful about laying blame on Russia as its war in Ukraine surpasses 11 months. Baerbock uses significant portion of her keynote address Tuesday at the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe in Strasbourg, France, to defend law, democracy, and human rights. Obviously, we got to defend those things too.
Of course.
All those things are make it okay. They justify everything we do.
Absolutely.
Oh, we're defending democracy. We're defending the freedom, defending law and human rights, obviously.
Because nobody wants to do away with any of that stuff.
Defending all those things as a response to Russia's murderous attack on the people of Ukraine.
Frickin' Russia.
She goes on to say to this large assembly council in Europe, we're fighting a war against Russia, not against each other. It says she called for unity among Western allies following the announcement that Berlin would send Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine. So apparently a lot of the Europeans were like, do we really want to do this? And they're like fighting and bickering. And her words were, in her defense, her words were, guys, we're not fighting each other. We're fighting Russia. We're fighting a war in Russia here. Now, on one hand, it seems like a lot of nothing turned into a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not like she officially declared war on Russia. But on the other hand, it's not like Russia doesn't listen to these little things.
Yes.
Like we said, Russia is like us and is looking for a reason to say they started it.
Yeah.
So we have to finish it. So Russia, does turn around and like, you heard Germany.
Right.
She's the defense minister or the foreign minister.
Yeah.
German foreign minister. She said that Germany literally is at war with us.
Yeah,
so
I mean, if you're Putin and you're looking for any kind of justification to amp things up, there it is.
So the optics of this not great. Maybe a better choice of words here.
Right.
I don't know. Like literally, we are fighting a war against Russia without saying it because again, we are supplying everything but the bodies to throw in front of them. We're supplying the boots, the goggles, the vests that are keeping them as breathing bodies a little longer. We're providing the tanks and the helicopters and now requesting jets and missiles.
And most likely the intelligence and CIA.
Oh, we are. We've been
absolutely.
providing intelligence since it started.
Okay,
That's another thing. It's just like, well, I feel like that's part of this too.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're a major... Like, if Ukraine was an aggressor, you'd be an accessory, I would think, at least. If it was like a criminal situation, like here in the United States.
Oh, yeah.
Like, say you were go out and rob a bank.
And you gave me the gun,
I gave you the gun, the mask, the bulletproof vest.
What to say.
Told you exactly the layout of the bank. Yeah. Told you what the combination of the safe was. Do you think they'd be like, oh, no, he was a neutral he was neutral to this.
No.
That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah,
No, I would be accessory to the crime.
Yeah.
But not in these situations. Now, what if I came out and was like bragging to my friends and I was like, we robbed a bank, even though I wasn't part of it, but I could be like, oh, I wasn't saying that. That's not but I feel like a police officer would be like, you kind of admitted to it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But they don't have to play by the same rules that we have to play by, obviously.
No, because again, nobody wants that escalation. I don't think they do. Maybe they do.
Oh, they want the escalation.
You think so?
Yeah, they're pushing. They just don't want to be the first person to do it.
I mean, that's the thing, though. I mean, nobody wants to be that person who pulls the trigger.
No, because then we broke some kind of war laws or
Yeah.
something, and now we're like actually at war.
We're just trying to push everybody else into doing it.
Yeah, we want them to step. Remember, don't step one toe across the line, and we're pushing it like.
Yeah,
it's almost like
we don't want this fight, even though your mom's fat and ugly.
Oh man, it's like the little brother.
Yeah.
That like sits there and pushes around and knows his big brother's gonna kick his ass. That's Ukraine with us. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like we're more involved in this than we'd like to admit.
Oh hell yeah, we are.
Now it doesn't stop there. It happened again because a Hungarian leader came out like shortly after and pretty much said the same thing. Oh yeah, and he wasn't just like messing around. Like he was like, it was almost like a dire warning. Like, no, you guys think we're not at war? Oh, we're at war. Let me find. This is what's his full name? It's this guy. Whoever wrote this article in the American Conservative sucks this guy's dick. Prime Minister Viktor Orban for like 4 paragraphs saying how he's this beautiful politician and he like he's a politician's politician. He compares him to Bill Clinton, which I don't know how that's a good thing, but I want to get down to his warning. He says, and this is interesting. He says, Orban said that the West needs to understand that Putin can't afford to lose and will not lose. because he's up for re-election next year and he can't run as the president who lost the war. What's more, he said Russia can't allow NATO to establish a presence in Ukraine. The time has long passed when Russia might have been able to conquer Ukraine or install a friendly regime. Had Russia won a quick victory, that might have been possible, but it's hopeless now. Therefore, said Orban, Russia's goal is to make Ukraine an ungovernable wreck so the West cannot claim its prize. As this, they have already succeeded. It's Afghanistan now, the land of nobody, meaning no man's land. The West doesn't understand that time is on Russia's side in Ukraine, which is what you said. Russia is a huge country and can mobilize a vast army. Ukraine is already running out of troops. When that happens, then what? He says, we are in big, big trouble, he said of the West. If Russia's coming spring offensive proves successful, then NATO countries are going to be faced with the question of, do we send in soldiers to fight Ukraine? This is not something Orban thinks the American people are considering, but it is front to mind among a growing number of Europeans whose countries stand to be devastated if war spreads. Really, NATO troops fighting Russians in Ukraine? Yes, said Orban. It sounds crazy, but if you look at the tendency of how we got to this point today, it can't be ruled out. It's like pretty much, it's like, look where we've come so far. Look how far we've come so fast. He says the West is in a war with Russia. That's the reality. Every day we are moving further in. Now you're talking one of the top dogs in, what country did I say?
Hungary.
Hungary, yeah. The Prime Minister of Hungary says, you guys keep saying we're not. We're in the war.
Yeah.
We're part of the war. We're in this war. This is our war. I know nobody intends to send troops, supposedly, but at the end of the day, if this keeps going, we're going to have to. Now, you've got two top leaders in the EU saying, no, we are at war with Ukraine. Is this just not feeding more fuel to the fire for Russia? Or is it... I feel like this guy isn't so much like trying to egg him on. It's more of like a dire warning, like, you guys got to wake up and understand the reality of this. We're at war.
Yeah, I mean, these guys, they can afford to not be as political, right? I mean, the United States, the chick in Germany kind of fucked up, but United States, I mean, Great Britain, I mean, France, these are guys that, they can't come out and be like, we are at war, but Hungary, they can come out and call out the elephant in the room. Be like, look, guys, we're going to be in the middle of this.
Well, if you think about where does Hungary sit? Right on the fucking border of Ukraine.
Right.
So if Ukraine falls, who's the next step?
Right.
Hungary or Poland or somebody like that. The people that are like, guys, we kind of fucked up here. Yeah. Guys, we got to do something about this now. I feel that they're going to be the first ones to call for troops.
Absolutely.
In Ukraine. If the spring offensive does prove to be successful for Russia, you're going to get people like Hungary right on the border. It's like, guys, we got to do something. Yeah. We got to fucking do something here. Well, now, I did see that the U.S. is piling troops up in Romania, which is, I think, on the border of Hungary, which is like just over a couple states.
Are they really?
Huh. I read that they're building up like a super presence in Romania, basically to send a signal like, don't take another step. And it's like,
isn't that how we got to this space in the front?
Yes,
first
it
part?
is. That's exactly how we got here in the first place. By doing what we do.
Well, we just got a presence. We just want them to know, that we're not going to let them take another step. No, but that's the thing. It's like these little countries. Yeah, I mean they feel they're next, right? Yeah. If Ukraine falls, they're next. So they want us to do something, right? We're supposed to be the great protector of the world. So they're expecting the United States to go in and do something.
Yeah, because we make all these promises. Like, if they do, we will. And they're like, well, they are. So are you going to?
Yeah.
It's like, we can't do this on our own. And we've set ourselves up as that. Now, the Russian foreign minister came out and pretty much said that we're at war with the West last week, too. So we've got three world leaders. We've got Hungary, we've got Germany, and now... The Russian foreign minister says, when we talk about what's happening in Ukraine, we talk about the fact that this is no longer a hybrid war, but a real one, which the West has been preparing for a long time against Russia. The West is trying to destroy everything Russian from language to culture, which has been in Ukraine for centuries, and forbidding people to speak native language. So it says, according to a translation, repeating well-trod Kremlin talking points, attempting to frame Russia's unprovoked and brutal invasion of Ukraine as an act of self-defense. So you got both sides pretty much saying, nobody wants to admit this, but we are at war with each other.
But remember, that was Putin's reason for going after Crimea, right? Was that there was Russian citizens there, and they felt like they were being provoked, or they were being kind of discriminated against.
Sure. Yeah.
The Nazi populace of Ukraine wanted the pure blood Ukrainians. They did not want Russian blood in there. So
that was Crimea, and then what was that other, the Donbas region?
Yep.
That was the other one.
Yeah.
Like more recently.
Yeah.
And that one has been an ongoing conflict since 2014. So,
absolutely. Yeah.
So when you got both sides saying we're basically at war, both sides saying, but we're not at war.
Right.
It's like, what are we at right now?
Yeah.
Like, who's willing to just step up and say, guys, we're just fucking at war?
Yeah, right.
Because we know, I don't think there's one American person that's like, we got to put boots on the ground.
No.
I think that's what's holding us back. That's the difference between Iraq and Afghanistan in this situation.
Yeah.
Is we sucked ourselves dry of that support of, we got to send in, go kick ass, take names. We don't have that mentality now. It's like,
no.
Guys, no boots, no ground, nothing, none of it.
And plus, you got fucking Biden and General Milley.
Yeah.
Who wants to save the planet.
Yeah, because the climate change is the climate
right. That's their
crisis is the biggest
problem.
threat to the world right now.
You think Russia's talking about that shit?
No. But I feel like they have been more recently setting the pieces in place. And I don't know what it's leading to. Do you think there's going to be a full-fledged war? Do you think that's what they're setting it up for?
I mean, it almost sounds like it.
It does, but I mean, there's so many pieces here, and we predicted this back in the early days of back in the early days of the war. 341
I almost
days ago.
feel like they're playing chicken.
Yeah,
and because the article you're going to read here shortly, they want to push the Russian people to a place where they're going to want to get rid of Putin.
Yes. And I think that's the end game.
Yeah.
We talked about a couple organizations since we started the show that like to get us involved in foreign interventions.
Yeah.
One being the National Endowment for Democracy, NED. The other was the founders of Foreign Affairs. What was their name again?
It was Council on Foreign Affairs.
Council on Foreign Affairs, yes.
Or Foreign Relations. Council on Foreign Relations.
Yes, they like to predict, quote unquote, what's going on in the world. So
and they're all business owners.
Oh yeah.
They're not government officials.
Right. And they like to make predictions of where the foreign relations are going, and then their predictions just always happen to come true.
Right. Yeah.
Well, the publication Foreign Affairs came out this month, a couple days ago. It just says January/February 2023. So
roundaboutly,
just somewhere in there, even though it's not even February yet. Came out with an article titled "Putin's Last Stand: The Promised and Peril of Russian Defeat." I mean, when we talk about these organizations that meddle in foreign relations, like the NED, for example, they're the ones that go in and pass out the pamphlets and stir up the public discontent, and they're responsible for a bunch of riots. They're responsible for the original Ukraine conflict in 2014, the Ukrainian Civil War. The NED had a lot to do with that. The NED has it. They do in public what the CIA did in private. Their job is to topple governments in the name of democracy, and they do it all in the name of democracy and freedom. They're an NGO, quote unquote. They're a non-governmental organization. Even though they're fully funded by the government, all their funding comes directly from the government, but they can get around some of those, like the red tape that the CIA had because they're an NGO. And then there's Foreign Affairs that likes to push the country's foreign relationships.
It's almost like they put a bug in the ear of the NED. The NED goes, they overturns it, and then Foreign Affairs, they write an article about it.
Yeah. Beto is here. Beto
Hey,
says Washington is doing all they possibly can to make war happen. The neocons have Joe Biden's ears and can control the information he gets. At this point, Moscow won't be interested in any solution at all and choose instead to finish the war on its own terms. I see that.
Yeah.
So this article, like I said, Putin's last stand, comes from Foreign Affairs. Predictions, obviously. Says Russian President Vladimir Putin's war in Ukraine. I can't read this whole thing. This is long, but I'm going to hit some points. It was meant to be his crowning achievement, a demonstration of how far Russia has come since the collapse of the Soviet Empire in 1991. I feel like that's not what their goal was. It wasn't like, hey, we need to reinstate our power. It's like, well, in 1991, you guys said you weren't going to do this, and you did this, and so I feel like we have the right to do this because you guys said you weren't going to expand NATO. Yeah. You're very fucking clearly expanding NATO. Yeah. But Foreign Affairs says, oh, they just want to demonstrate their pre-fall of the empire status.
I thought it was kind of bullshit, too.
Annexing Ukraine was supposed to be a first step in reconstructing a Russian empire.
Right.
Putin intended to expose the United States as a paper tiger outside Western Europe and to demonstrate that Russia, along with China, was destined for a leadership role in a new multipolar international order. It hasn't turned out that way. Kiev held strong, and the Ukrainian military has been transformed into a juggernaut. Yeah? Oh, yeah?
Yep, a juggernaut. Unstoppable.
Thanks in part to a close partnership with the United States and Western allies. No. Thanks in part to being fully funded, fully armed, and fully supplied by the United States.
Yes.
Not a close partnership.
Yeah.
They're a juggernaut because we gave them their juggernautness.
Yes, we are their sugar daddy.
The Russian military, in contrast, has demonstrated poor strategic thinking and organization. The political system behind it has proven unable to learn from its mistakes. With little prospect of dictating Putin's actions, the West will have to prepare for the next stage of Russia's disastrous war choice. War is inherently unpredictable. That's why Foreign Affairs always tries to predict it.
Right.
Indeed, the course of conflict has served to invalidate widespread early prognostication that Ukraine would quickly fall. A reversal of fortune is impossible to discount. It nevertheless appears that Russia is headed for defeat. Less certain is what form this defeat will take. 3 basic scenarios exist, and each one would have different ramifications for policymakers in the West and Ukraine. Why do they put policymakers in the West over the policymakers in Ukraine? Shouldn't it be more what policymakers in Ukraine decide to do?
Right, yeah.
That's just saying it all. It's like, well, when this ends, the West will
decide what we want to do with it.
Yes. The first and least likely scenario, so like I said, they have 3 predictions. The first and least likely is that Russia will agree to its defeat by accepting a negotiated settlement on Ukraine's terms. Does that seem plausible to you, based on what we know about Putin?
No, the guy was walking around the bush with a machine gun.
Yes, no, it's a sniper rifle. Come on,
sorry.
After he rode a bear.
Yes,
he's
shirt.
I mean, he's basically already said, "I'm not going to agree to any terms."
No.
A great deal would have to change for this scenario to materialize, because any semblance of diplomatic dialogue among Russia, Ukraine, and the West has vanished. The scope of Russian aggression and the extent of Russian war crimes would make it difficult for Ukraine to accept any diplomatic settlement that amounted to anything less than a total Russian surrender. That's not going to fucking happen.
No.
That said, a Russian government under Putin or a successor could try to retain Crimea and sue for peace elsewhere. To save face domestically, the Kremlin could claim it is preparing for the long game in Ukraine, leaving open the possibility of additional military incursions. It could blame its underperformance on NATO, arguing that alliance's weapon deliveries, not Ukraine's strength, impeded a Russian victory. Now, in their defense, they would be absolutely right in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't care how fucking strong Ukraine is. Without the $113 billion we sent them, Russia would have rolled the fuck right over them.
Oh, hell yeah.
Rolled completely over, because like Zelensky keeps saying, we don't have the weapons to do this.
Right.
So for Foreign Affairs to come out and be like, the Kremlin would like push this lie that it was NATO's weapons deliveries, not Ukraine's strength that impeded our
Wink,
victory.
wink. Yeah.
Because that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
For this approach to pass muster within the regime, hardliners, possibly including Putin himself, would have to be marginalized. This would be difficult, but not impossible. Still, under Putin, this outcome is highly improbable. You see how they keep saying, if Putin's in charge, this ain't going to happen. If Putin's still there, this won't happen.
Yeah.
Now, it's likely, but probably not with Putin in charge. Where do you think they're going with this?
Yeah.
A second scenario for Russian defeat would involve failure among escalation. The Kremlin would nihilistically seek to prolong the war in Ukraine while launching a campaign of unacknowledged acts of sabotage in countries that support Kiev and in the Ukraine itself. In the worst case, Russia could opt for a nuclear attack on Ukraine. The war would then edge towards a direct military confrontation between NATO and Russia. Russia would transform from a revisionist state into a rogue one, a transition that is already underway and that would harden the West's conviction that Russia poses a unique and unacceptable threat. Crossing the nuclear threshold could lead to NATO's conventional involvement in the war, accelerating Russia's defeat on the ground. The final scenario, number 3, for the war's end would be defeat through regime collapse. Now, what one do you think they really want?
I think that's the one they're pushing.
Or is most likely?
Yeah.
With the decisive battles taking place not in Ukraine, but rather in the halls of the Kremlin or in the streets of Moscow. Now, enter the National Endowment for Democracy.
Mm-hmm.
Putin has concentrated power rigidly in his own hands, and his obstinacy in pursuing a losing war has placed his regime on shaky ground. Russians will continue marching behind their inept czar only to a certain point. Although Putin has brought political stability to Russia, a prized state of affairs given the rupture of the post-Soviet years, his citizens could turn on him if the war leads to general privation. The collapse of his regime could mean an immediate end to the war, which Russia would be unable to wage among ensuing domestic chaos. A coup d'etat followed by civil war could echo what happened after the Bolshevik takeover in 1917, which precipitated Russia's withdrawal from World War I.
That sounds like messier than what's going on currently.
The coup d'etat, which followed by civil war, echoes what happened not just in Bolshevik Russia, but also in Ukraine in 2014, led by the NED and the West. And so this is their bread and butter, is coup d'etat.
Yes.
Is that how you say that? Sounds right.
Yeah.
Followed by civil wars. I mean, that's the
their
NED.
bread and butter.
Yes, that's their
playbook.
Yes, it is. It's their I can't think of the word. Modus whatever.
Operandi.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah. Throwing out a lot of foreign languages here. It's the way they work.
Yeah.
It's the way they go. So they're basically spelling it out here. This is almost like the dog whistle for the NED.
Yeah, absolutely.
Foreign Affairs is dog whistling the NED to get into Russia and stir shit up, make them pissed off. I'm sure they've been doing it the last year.
Oh, I was gonna say for the last couple years, I'm sure that they got the phone, the bat phone, and they're like, "Yep, nope, we already got people on the ground."
Yeah, because remember, one of their top places was in Ukraine over the last decade. But I think you had said when we had talked about the NED back then, when we came to our oh shit moment, we're like, well, there seems to be a lot of concentration in Russia here lately of the NED.
Trying to work with the that main opponent of Putin there.
Oh, we're going to get into that guy too.
Yeah, no, I figured.
We're going to get into that guy. Says, no matter how it comes about, a Russian defeat would, of course, be welcomed. Obviously.
Yeah, right.
Now, so this is the naive thing, because do you remember when we had said, we're going to go into Iraq and the people are just going to welcome us with open arms when we take out Saddam Hussein?
Yeah.
How many of them welcomed us with open arms?
Yeah, not
many.
Mean,
that's just the naive, egotistical, narcissist United States saying, well, obviously a Russian defeat would be welcomed.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, there's gonna be singing and dancing in the streets, people
absolutely,
waving American
yes.
flags and saying thank you,
Yeah.
George Bush, I guess.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joe Biden.
Right. Yeah.
Typically, that's not how it works. How many
No.
countries have we gone in and liberated?
Yeah.
And it turns out
We
that
were
they
welcomed.
fucking hate us.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I mean, there's not too many U.S. liberated, Western liberated countries over there that really like us anymore after our military leaves.
Yeah. I was going to say, even France didn't like us.
Yeah. No matter how it comes about, a Russian defeat would, of course, be welcomed. It would free Ukraine from the terrors it has suffered since the invasion. It would reinforce the principle that an attack on another country cannot go unpunished. It might open up new opportunities for Belarus, Georgia, and Moldova, and for the West to finish ordering Europe in its image.
Yeah, because Belarus isn't totally Putinized, right?
Now, saying the silent thing, they don't give a fuck about saying the quiet things out loud, because that last line there, for the West to finish ordering Europe in its image.
Yeah.
Basically, let's just mold this thing the way we want it to, so it works out on our behalf, and it would be probably okay for the Ukrainians might like it too.
Yeah, right. Well, and it goes back to all the woke folk talking about the colonizers. I mean, that's all we're talking about doing over there, right? Is going over there and colonizing.
But it's Europeans in it, not the United States.
Europeans can't colonize other Europeans,
obviously.
Right.
It says, for Belarus, a path could emerge towards the end of dictatorship and towards free and fair election. Sounds like it's like once we topple the regime in Russia, we can start on all these little satellites. We could topple regimes in Belarus. We could topple regimes in Georgia, Moldova.
Yeah,
and
we'll make them all
in the image
Europeanized.
of Europeans. It says, and Ukraine could strive together, all those countries could strive together for eventual integration into the European Union and possibly NATO, following the model of Central and Eastern European governments after the fall of the Soviet Union.
And that is the end game right there. Let's get them all under the UN and NATO, and then we can
pay taxes to us too.
Exactly. Yeah, right.
That's the biggest thing, right?
Yeah. And then we could be one happy global family.
Right. It says, though Russia's defeat would have many benefits, the United States and Europe should prepare for the regional and global disorder it would produce. At least this time, they're like, now there's going to be like a power vacuum over there.
Right.
It says, since 2008, Russia has been a revisionist power. It has redrawn borders, annexed territory, meddled in elections. We're still playing that card.
Are they talking about United States or Russia?
Still playing that card. Inserted itself into various African conflicts.
Are they talking about us or Russia?
Good fucking God. And altered the geopolitical dynamic of the Middle East.
Are they talking about us or Russia?
All the bad shit that they said are things that we are guilty of.
Yeah.
All of them.
But it's different if we do it.
Oh, obviously.
We do it for freedom.
We do it for freedom. It says, by propping up Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Were Russia to pursue radical escalation or splinter into chaos instead of accepting defeat through negotiation, the repercussion would be felt in Asia, Europe, and the Middle East. Disorder could take the form of separatism and renewed conflicts in and around Russia, the world's largest country and landmass. The transformation of Russia into a failed state riven by civil war would revive questions that Western policymakers had to grapple with in 1991. For example, who would gain control of Russia's nuclear weapons? That's the most important question here.
That's what they care about.
Yes. A disorderly Russian defeat would leave a dangerous hole in the international system. Now, it keeps going and going and going on. I can't read this whole article, but it goes on and on. But we got the main gist of it.
Yeah. That the hope is to get Putin kicked out by his own people. That's the
push. Yeah.
It'd be messy, create some chaos, but
at the end of the day, we could shape the region into
our image.
The image of Europe that we've been wanting all this time.
And all hail the Great Reset.
I mean, that's why we had the Cold War to begin with.
Right.
It was because communism was such a threat to our way of thinking here. Not that communism was the answer.
Yeah.
But it was a threat to the global order.
Yeah. Right.
It says twice in the last 106 years, in 1917 and in 91, versions of Russia have broken apart. Twice, versions of Russia have reconstituted themselves. If Russian power recedes, the West should capitalize on the opportunity to shape an environment in Europe that serves to protect NATO members, allies, and partners. A Russian defeat would furnish many opportunities and many temptations. One of those temptations would be to expect that a defeated Russia would essentially disappear from Europe, but a defeated Russia will one day reassert itself and pursue its interests on its own terms. The West should be politically and intellectually equipped for both for Russia's defeat and for Russia's return. That's dramatic.
It is.
So you think they're putting the pieces in place? Do you think they're
I
saying
think
it
they've
out
been doing
loud?
it for years. Yeah. Oh, I think so for sure. Yeah. Yeah. You called it out a year ago.
Right.
So yeah, and they're starting to, set the board, right? I mean, the pieces have already been there. They've been working on this for a couple years now. Otherwise, we wouldn't have pushed them into war with Ukraine.
Yeah. So do you remember this other organization called the NED?
Oh, hell yeah.
The NED on their homepage, one of their homepages, like one of their main pages, has this. This is a what is this? It's an event. It's like a virtual event and like an in-person. It's like this big event thing.
Okay.
I don't know, a seminar type thing.
Okay.
And they're inviting everybody to join this. It is called Dissent and Persecution in Russia, from Father Edelstein to Vladimir Kara-Murza. Do you know Vladimir Kara? Another Vlad.
Yes.
Do you know
It's
who
like
that
Bob.
was? That's the main
That's the main opponent to
opponent to Putin that's been exiled.
Okay.
They are hosting this event. So about this event, this is on the NED's website. You are invited to join the National Endowment for Democracy and the Reagan Institute. Here, let me pull this up. And the Reagan Institute, that's got to be great.
Right.
On February 1st, so this Wednesday, when this episode drops, this will be taking place. For Dissent and Persecution in Russia, from Father Edelstein to Vladimir Kara-Murza. Co-hosted by the Reagan Institute Center for Freedom and Democracy, that just sounds American, and the NED, the event will feature a screening of My Duty to Not Stay Silent, the newest documentary film by imprisoned Russian opposition leader, journalist, and activist Vladimir Kara-Murza, followed by a discussion on dissent and persecution in today's Russia. The NED is hosting this event to air this documentary by the number one opponent, exiled opponent to Putin.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe they're trying to find their guy
I'm
to prop
thinking-
up for the next guy?
Yes, I'm thinking.
Without making the Victoria Nuland phone call?
Yeah, fuck
Like,
them.
we don't need to make a phone call. Let's just do
We'll do our own thing.
a live stream.
Yeah.
And let's just play this really sad. How is it if this guy's in prison? How is he making a documentary? That's my
Yeah,
question.
right.
Did he
Especially
make
a
the
Russian prison.
Yeah, did he make the documentary before prison or from
Might
prison
be.
or what? It says, My Duty to Not Stay Silent is the remarkable story of Russian Orthodox priest and dissident Father Georgy Edelstein after being suspended for politically motivated dissent. He worked hard to keep freedom of religion alive in the Soviet Union. Due to a personal petition from President Reagan, Father Edelstein was restored to his village parish. It's a film about true tolerance and true faith, the relationship between Jewishness and Christianity, the collaboration between church leaders and totalitarian state, and the importance of speaking truth, no matter the consequence. Tragically, Russian citizens today face similar persecution. Modern freedom fighters like Vladimir Kara-Murza continue the struggle for freedom, following in Father Edelstein's footsteps. The event will feature opening remarks from Kara-Murza, or Evgenia Kara-Murza, which is Vladimir's wife, following the film screening. The panel discussion, moderated by the NED, will include President and founder of Free Russia Foundation, Natalia Arno, President of Victims of Communism Memorial Foundation, Ambassador Andrew Bremberg, and President and CEO of Radio Free Europe, Jamie Fly. Jamie Fly? Really?
Yeah,
That's got to be the radio name.
Yo, this is DJ Fly.
We've got the NED
Yes.
throwing this event,
Yeah.
highlighting this dissident, this main opponent of Putin.
Yeah. Well, and giving the history of persecution in Russia, right?
While highlighting this
guy.
opponent of Putin.
Yes.
While Foreign Affairs is saying, the only real solution to all this is dog whistle. We need to topple the regime, dog whistle, and start a civil war, dog whistle. And then the NED is like, we hear ya, and we're looking for our guy right now.
Yeah.
You think maybe something's in the works here?
Oh, a little bit. I mean, that timing seems really coincidental.
Just a bit coincidental that this is happening all at once.
Yeah.
And Politico comes out with an opinion piece the same time that's titled "Russia exiled them. Big mistake." Exiles from Putin's Russia have a powerful role to play in what comes next in their country. It's happened before. And this talks partially about that guy, that Mara, what's his name? Kura or whatever?
Karamara.
What was it? Hang on.
Vladimir
Kara-Murza. There you go. So it says, when it comes to regime change, there's an important relationship between regime opponents inside the country and the ones exiled outside the country. This has played out over and over again in history, particularly in Russia. This dynamic will be important to whatever happens in Russia in the wake of Russian President Vladimir Putin's ill-conceived invasion in Ukraine. Political exiles rarely lead revolutions. There have been two exceptions: Vladimir Lenin in Russia in 1917 and Ayatollah Khamenei in Iran 62 years later, but both returned to their countries when the old regimes were all but gone. The leaders deposed and the prior regime discredited. Basically sounds like we're planning on deposing Putin and toppling his regime, and maybe not. One of these exiles might or might not come back and play an important role.
Or several come in and to kind of push support for this Vladimir Kamara and
It says Putin's invasion of Ukraine has weakened him, just as czars in the 19th century and 20th centuries were weakened by conflicts, including the Crimean War and World War I.
Has it, though?
So when Putin regime begins to teeter and wobble, whether in yet another instance of merciless pattern of Russian history, unforgiving of military setbacks, or because of an anemic economy further degraded by sanctions, oil and gas revenues drying up, or all these calamities at once, the most likely to lead the revolution will be the leaders on the ground. Many of those are currently in prison, including Alexei Navalny serving a 9.5-year sentence, Vladimir Kara-Murza in the 8th month of imprisonment without trial facing up to 24 years in prison, or Ilya Yashin sentenced last week to 8.5 years. With Putin's regime rapidly descending into savagery of military dictatorship, they might not emerge from jail alive. But even if they don't survive, others will step forward when the time comes. The West can lend a crucial hand.
I wonder, are those guys, are they in the same prison?
I don't know. I hope not. That would be stupid.
Well, remember, there is a U.S. former Marine over there as well.
That is true, too. So, you think toppling regimes is maybe in the works?
On the menu? Yes.
I
believe that is what they're pushing, yes.
Think so?
Yes.
Maybe slightly?
Yeah.
I mean, you had sent me this thing. This is from Pravda, so obviously we can't trust this.
But they read the article.
Yeah, Pravda said that was a different article, though, from Foreign Affairs.
Oh, was it?
But Pravda says that the Russia after Putin plan is ready, and that the West is already planning Russia after Putin.
Yeah.
Did they really name? Hopefully they didn't name it the Russia after Putin plan. I could see them doing it because remember they did lose their acronym guy.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
They lost their the guy that names ops and stuff. And so now the best we've come up with is the Russia after Putin plan.
The rapist plan.
Russia after Putin installment security. I don't know. What's a T? What's a good T word? Task force.
There you go. Task
Russia
force.
after Putin installing security task force. Dude, that says rapist. No, it doesn't. So apparently the actors have already been chosen, but Pravda thinks it's Gary Kasparov and Mikhail Khodorkovsky, who suddenly developed an affection for the Russian people. They're waiting for their window to open. So Foreign Affairs came out with another article a few months ago.
Kind of saying the same
Kind
thing?
of the same, similar, yeah. Title, Don't Fear Putin's Demise. Don't worry. But this was written by those Russian people.
Oh, okay.
For Foreign Affairs, which is because it says it's by Gary Kasparov and Mikhail Khodorkovsky.
Oh, interesting.
Says the Russian president Putin is living on borrowed time. And
so they're writing this to the Russian people saying, hey, it's
have no
okay
fear
if Putin goes away.
Yeah, but it's coming from Foreign Affairs. They're writing it to the Russian people, but they posted it in Foreign Affairs.
Interesting.
Of all places.
See,
so this is where the war is sitting.
But one of the things I read, and I don't, again, propaganda, it's hard to sort truth from fiction. But apparently, like, Putin has an 80% approval rating.
Okay.
Currently in Russia. They're pushing this narrative that, hey, they're coming to take your culture. They want to destroy the Russian culture. They want to take away your language, your art, your history, and they want to reshape it.
But isn't Ukraine saying the same thing about Russia, though?
They are. Absolutely. But, I mean, I'm just saying that this is what Putin's using to kind of build support for this whole Ukrainian thing, right? That we're there fighting Nazis.
You're talking about the people while they're being like basically starving to death and living in squalor for 50 years.
Yeah.
Where like I will die for the motherland.
Right.
I will go and like infiltrate into the United States, change my language, change who I'm married to, and be a Russian spy for my entire life, potentially getting arrested and murdered, all for the motherland. I mean, these people. We're living in a country where the phrase like I don't know. Where, like, constitution is a bad word. Being a patriot is a bad word.
Absolutely.
And you're talking about Russia, where they're like, I will die for the motherland.
Yeah, in that Pravda article, they say, look, we tried it the way the West wanted it after the fall of the Soviet Union.
Right.
And it sucked.
Yeah. It still didn't work, guys.
Yeah.
Let's go back to at least that.
At least we have some order now.
At least back then we had our dignity. If we had nothing else, we didn't have food.
Look, it is.
We had our dignity.
Putin stabilized things after that whole fuck up.
Right.
After the fall of the Soviet Union, and so he is a hero to them.
Sure.
Right. I mean, that'd be like George Washington, right? Like Britain be like, hey, let's get them to turn on George Washington.
It's like on George,
the father of our company.
Really? No.
At the cherry tree.
Yeah, but you know, Georgie's on borrowed time. So if we could just like stir up some discontent there, they'll turn on George Washington. And I mean, there might be a civil war that ensues. So maybe that's what happened. Maybe that's why we had a civil war. I don't know. I just know the plan. Probably naive because that's how we go into all these countries. Naive. It's like,
we don't understand the culture.
We'll just push down a statue of Putin and they'll welcome us with open arms. Well, we applied all the sanctions to begin with.
Yeah.
That's when we came up with it, is when they started pushing all these sanctions.
Right.
And they even really said, they're like, you know, because they all but said it then. They're like, well, with all the pressure and the sanctions on, maybe the people will pressure Putin to stop the war. And that's when I'm just like, there it is, right there.
Yeah.
They are going to put the pressure not on Putin and not on the military as much as they are going to put it on the citizens, hoping that they'll get all pissy because, you know, people get pissed off when they're hungry.
Right.
You've seen a hungry toddler. Imagine a really hungry toddler. They get really upset really quick, and that's when usually people start like killing their leaders when they're hungry.
Absolutely.
So, I don't know. That's our recap and our updates on the Russian war, I guess. I don't know. Final, like your predictions before we get out of here?
I don't think, again, I don't think they're going to get the uprising they want in Russia.
So then what would plan B be?
Well, I mean, I think that they would have to look at more of a conventional warfare against him.
Yeah, well, they'd have to push some sort of, I don't know, like war crime scenario, which they've been building up, like how they did against Syria, tried to push that he gassed his own, which I don't know, maybe he did. Yeah. But they really played on that one to try to get us to attack Syria.
What I don't know is, would anybody come to Russia's aid? Like, would anybody try to jump in if NATO decided to go all out against Russia?
I might be surprised.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure we would.
There's enough countries surrounding Russia that probably fucking hate us too.
No, I'm sure.
That would be like, yeah, these sanctions are hurting us too because you're our number one supplier. Maybe Russia taps into some of these like African countries that they were their main supply source of food. It's like, you want your food back? Why don't you guys just storm freaking Europe real quick?
And I'm sure NATO is fine with just about anybody. I would think their fear would be, okay, what's China going to do?
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know. I don't know what the end game is. I know. I feel like something is going to happen in the next couple months.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's been planned out this way. It's not like, oh, we're just preemptively trying to get ahead of Russia. No, it's planned out.
Yeah.
Something, because they keep talking about this spring push that Russia is planning up. And like you said, Russia had all kinds of shit in the spring last year.
Right.
Why would they be preparing this giant, massive thing at the same time?
Yeah.
When the roads are still muddy, and they have one path in, supposedly is what we found out last year.
Yeah, apparently
one road.
The main ground force invasion time is November when the ground is completely frozen.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like something's going to happen this spring.
Yeah.
And there's going to be some sort of narrative that they push that either gets us involved conventionally or gets us involved less conventionally. But either way.
Is there a chance that NED or some other organization tries to off Putin?
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, they've been talking about how, he looks sick.
Now, I had read a thing last week when I started looking into this that was like, do we even know if Putin's still alive? We haven't heard from him in a while. He hasn't made any public appearances. There's a good chance he's dead. You remember? Where did we hear that before?
Oh, yeah.
North Korea?
Yeah, North Korea. Yeah.
And then he comes out. He's like, guys, I'm fine.
Yeah, he's like, well, hello.
I'm right here. And, they're pushing that same thing. Like, he might not be alive yet still. So I could see them trying to take out Putin.
Yeah. No, I could see that, too. Like I said, they've been pushing this narrative that he's sick for the last couple of years.
Yeah. I don't know. They were probably crossing their fingers hoping he'd get COVID.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But unfortunately, the way I look at it is this is, again, just like they took out Bolsonaro in Brazil, this is just taking out another person who's against a globalist agenda.
Oh, absolutely. That's what it is.
And that's all it is, just knocking down another peg.
And there seems to be this conspiracy theory going around that all these, like the handful of countries that are really opposed to us and we're like, that's our number one enemy, they're also heavily opposed to the globalist order and like the international banking system and shit like that. And it's like, no, we're not going to be part of your international banking scheme. And it's like, oh, well, let's go fuck up that country.
Right.
And
and America's the attack dog.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Be like, America, go give them your freedom.
We got loads of freedom. Spread our freedom all over their faces. That's all the time we got. Yeah, something's going to happen in the next...
It's going to be a mess regardless.
Well, yeah.
I mean, there's no pretty cleanup on this one.
I think I don't see this as a war that they want to draw out like Afghanistan. They wanted Afghanistan to be this stretched out, long, overdrawn war. Yeah. I think this one's like, all right, let's finish this off.
Well, they have to. I mean, like they said, this a prolonged conflict only benefits Russia.
Yeah. I mean, Russia...
Ukraine only has so many people.
Right. So eventually they're going to run out and Poland's going to have to send in the Nazis, or Romania's going to have to send in the U.S. troops that are assembling. So, one way or another, something shitty's going to happen in the next few months. So I wanted to get ahead of it before that happens to let you know, guys, something shitty's happened. You heard it second from us, probably.
Right, yeah. I'm sure we'll be sending them billions of more dollars.
Oh, yeah. That's the other thing. Got at least another $200 billion going their way.
Yeah.
I mean, he said, $7 billion a month?
Yeah.
To prop up his country after the shit ends?
He needs a new boat.
Yeah. So... this has been fun.
Yeah.
This is your update on the Russian war. If you didn't know, this is all the stuff that's going on.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
I hope you enjoyed it. It's fun and happy thoughts.
We'll be here again next year.
Prediction. We predicted this, I think, at the start. Does World War III break out over all this shit? Final prediction.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like, to what extent?
I think it's not gonna be what we think it is. I think unfortunately, I think it's gonna come down to, NATO and maybe the UN, like, going after Russia and Russia's allies.
I think one way or another, Ukraine's just gonna get like wiped off the map.
Oh,
and
no,
we're not
they
gonna
will.
give two
Yeah.
shits because it's just like, you're
No,
just there to be a proxy.
I agree. Yeah.
And
Once we go conventional, Ukraine doesn't matter anymore.
I think Zelensky's going to be in for a rude awekening when he's like, guys, we need you to come in now. Guys, now, guys, now.
And they're like, shut the fuck up, Zelensky. We're doing our thing.
They're at our doorstep.
Yeah.
It's like, we got it. Don't worry. And then Ukraine just gets destroyed. And then we're like, oh, we can't just let you destroy Ukraine like that.
Right.
That's a war crime. So now we can attack you.
Right.
But
and that's what they're waiting for.
Yes.
They want the excuse to go in.
Yeah.
And they're hoping that Putin wipes out Ukraine. And that's why I think he hasn't.
Oh, shit.
What?
Zelensky is going to get offed, and that's going to be Zelensky thinks he's this big war
Yes.
hero, war dog, but the real plan is Zelensky gets offed, and then that's going to be the trigger.
I can
That's
see
the
that.
trigger
Yes.
that we
Yes.
go in for.
He's the golden child.
He's
Yes.
the bait. He doesn't know it, but he's the bait.
Biden's gonna be like, hey, Zelensky, why don't you meet me at this place?
Yeah. On that note, we got to get out of here. On that happy note, make sure you check us out all over the social media. We are all over Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can find us at our handle at BreakTheBellPod. I didn't say any of this stuff at the beginning because I had
just got
computer
into
virus
it.
problems.
Yeah, you were. That's true.
I was very distracted. So check us out all over social media. Share us far and wide. Hit that like and subscribe button so we can spread this information all over the faces of your opponents and your enemies and stuff. It's ideally what we want. Check out you can find links to all our stuff at our website, which is www.breakthebellpod.com. You can find links to our web store. You can get awesome shirt, which will include eventually a 100. What was it? 100 thanks is not 100 tanks.
Yes. Words to live by.
Yes, we're famous words to live by. So make sure you check all that out at breakthebellpod.com. Come back. Join us next week. Join us later this week, actually. We will have our morning special with me and Dan Smots of the System Is Down podcast. The Two Scoops morning show, which is 20, 30 minutes of fun in the morning. What a better way to wake up than us in your faces and your ears. That's Tuesdays and Thursday mornings, most of the time at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. Don't miss that. Otherwise, be back here next time, same channel, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time every Monday night live. We will catch you next time. Have a great rest of your week.
Peace.
Goodbye.
The Break the Bell podcast is brought to you by you. So pat yourself on the back because without you, we would be talking to ourselves. A special thanks to our Patreon members, Justin Zielinski, Remzo Martinez, Stephanie Parker, and T.O. Jacobson. A shout out to our sponsors, Run Your Mouth Coffee, the On the Run podcast, and Goulash Media. If you'd like to help support us, visit patreon.com/breakthebell or buy our garbage at breakthebell.bigcartel.com. Get back here next week and let us continue to invade your ear holes. And as always, never stop talking.